you have my sister coming in, Alina Hobbs, Walding.
Sounds familiar? Yes, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's coming in next.
Oh,
So she's my, we were actually shipmates. So we were on the same boat together, and I adopted her as my baby sister.
oh, that's going to be fun. We had a firefighter just the other day that came on, and he only came on because his wife pressured him, and then he looked at one of the other videos we have with a firefighter. He's like, maybe I should. And we didn't think, he kept telling us, oh, my story's not that remarkable. I didn't do that much. We sat here for 3.5, nearly 4 hours just talking. I'm like,
Wow.
for something that's not remarkable, you're giving me quite a bit here.
That's great.
How do you want to start? Do you want to start with military service, before military service?
Yeah, let's start with, well, a little bit before, like background on me, I guess.
Mhm.
My name is Roxanne Sotelo-Adamick, and I grew up in a small town called Early Mart in California. And about 18, 19, I was bored out of my mind because, there's not very many jobs in small towns, as you know. So I decided to join the Navy with my best friend, Natalie Santiago Moro now. And we joined the service, Navy. My uncle was Navy 30 years, and he tried to talk me out of it.
They all do.
Yeah. He basically was saying it's a man's military, and being a woman, you're going to have to work harder.
What year did you join?
92.
Okay.
So I joined, I had to do the delayed entry program because I had to get in shape, and I was a lifeguard and working in the water all the time. I was like, well, I'm already in the water. Why not, join the Navy? So I did that. My uncle came and visited, and he, again, made sure that I was mentally prepared for the Navy. So I went into the Navy in March of 92 and went to Orlando, Florida. That was my boot camp. I was supposed to be a CT, which is a crypto tech.
Okay.
And my school closed right in the middle of boot camp. And they're like, what do you want to do? You can get out because of breach of contract, or you can continue on. I said, I'll continue on. Let's see. I don't want to go back home, basically.
Let's see where it goes.
Yeah, let's see where it goes. So I joined as a deck seaman. I had undesignated, joined the military, went to Hawaii. That was my first station. Duty station was at USS Willamette. It's a oiler.
Okay.
And it was crazy. I got there, and my uncle was right. I had to work 10 times harder, and I was not going to be bullied. I grew up in like I said, a small town and single parent household. And I was a tough girl my whole life, and I thought, well, I could do this. If anybody can do it, I can do it. So I worked hard, and I struggled a little bit, missing home, because that was really honestly my first time really away from home, away from family. And so I did that. I worked as a deck seaman. I became really good at it. Didn't think I was, but I was very focused on my job. And that was as a bosun mate. And I hated it. I hated being out there, but I was the smallest person in the whole crew. So they always threw me over the side or had me doing these crazy jobs that, because I was small. And it was like one of the craziest things that I ever did was they threw me over the side in what's called a bosun chair. It's just basically a plank and ropes. And I'm hooked on with a life vest. And I'm sitting out there, and I'm hating the side and just looking at people like, okay, there's sharks underneath me.
Hanging you over the side like bait.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I've seen Jaws. I know what happens,
That never ends well.
No, it doesn't. So I did that for a couple of years. I got married. My ex-husband was also on the boat, and not my boat, but he was also in the Navy. And he and I wound up getting pregnant. I had my daughter in 93, on October 93. Because I was pregnant, I was put on shore duty. I was at sub base, and I really liked it. I really liked what I did there, the getting things ready for inspection and talking to people, because we did the whole inspections for sub base and some repairs. And I really liked what I did. So I decided to just go for the yeoman position, which is a ship secretary. And I got it. I got made third class. And during that time, my husband left
Hmm.
with my daughter. I was on deployment and I was stationed on the USS Cimarron, which is another oiler. And it's a mixed crew. It's mostly women. There's a lot of men on there, but there's mostly women because that was the only, at the time, that was the only place that had women on board. Shared a lot of crazy antics with women on the boats, as it became a sisterhood. You fought every once in a while, but it was like, I don't hardly ever see you. But my first deployment without my daughter was really tough. I went a little crazy as far as being depressed all the time, being away from her. I was a first time mom, and my daughter's 3 months old, and I'm away from her, or 4 months old. While I was on deployment, my ex husband decided to leave me. And when I came home, there was nothing.
Hmm.
So it was tough. It was tough. I fought hard. I filed for divorce from him, tried to get my daughter back. Took me 3 years to divorce him, but I made it.
Yay.
And I did get my daughter back, but the fight never ended. Of course, being in the military. After that, I decided, because of all of that issue, they put me on NICTAMS, which is the National Communications and Telecommunications Base.
Okay.
So basically, all of the communications that come from the fleet is coming through our station, and we disperse all of the communications.
Almost like those old school phone operators.
Yes, yes. And I worked for the admin office there, and I was the only female there. And I was also one of 3 people that had ever been in the fleet. Everybody there had never been on the fleet. So they didn't understand our dynamic, how we work. We were very goal orientated, get this done, get it out of the way. And everybody was like, that time. No, you don't have time. You need to get this done.
Yeah.
But I had a first female captain in that duty station, and I loved her. She was great. She was very hands-on, and she never failed to stop and tell you, hey, you're doing a great job, even though you felt like you weren't. Let me back up a little bit. When I was on the Cimarron, I was still doing deck duties. I was out on when we would refuel a ship, I would be down on the ground and doing the communications from our ship to their ship.
Okay.
And it was kind of a dangerous job. You have all these ropes and lots of people on deck doing different jobs. And I was just telling them, hey, we're giving you gas now, and at this speed and this pressure or whatever. It was amazing to be there and see all of it. But we had what's called a wedding ring. It's a metal bracket that holds the hose. It broke and it spilled jet fuel everywhere. So it was chaotic. And of course, you don't know what to do. You're making sure your people that were right next to you are still right next to you, because some of that stuff can wash you over.
Oh yeah.
And if you've ever been on a military ship, you have this very thin line. It's a wire line, but it's not going to hold you like a net would or whatever. It was scary. I get a little nervous. I'm sorry, but to this day, crowds frighten me because of it. People were running around. All you smell is jet fuel. I had friends that I had gone on the boat at the same time with, that it was just chaos. And you're like, oh, is that person here? I don't see that person. And you're freaking out. And I did see one of my shipmates. He had gotten doused with jet fuel and it was in his eyes. And they were everybody was trying to run around to get control of the hose. And I was just trying to get out of the way, basically. And everybody that I saw that was in the way, I would just like, come on, let's go. Let's get out of the way. And I saw him sitting down on the ground and he couldn't see. And I ran up to him and I was like, can you hear me? And he said, yes. He said, I can't see. So I picked him up and another guy helped me get him up. And he's like, take him inside, take him inside. So I ran as quickly as I could with him, trying to make sure he didn't trip over anything because, he can't see. And we got inside and they flushed his eyes and everything. And the whole time I was just thinking to myself, please don't be blind, because now I'm feel responsible because I was there, and they told me go back outside and see if you can help. So I went back outside, and the whole time I was just stunned and I froze. And the first time, that something was going on that I didn't know what to do. They were yelling at me and I couldn't hear what they were saying, but they were telling me, "Hey, you need to go do this or you need to go do that." And the whole time I was just like, I don't know where to go. I have no idea where I'm supposed to be.
In a state of shock.
Yes, exactly. Because I see all these people rushing around and they're all yelling and they're all screaming. And I'm scared stiff. Finally, one of the first class bosuns that were out there, he grabbed me and he says, "Hey, I need you to go do this. Just do that one thing. And then when you get there, somebody else will tell you what to do." So it was basically step by step by
Mhm.
step. And I'm not that person. I'm like a multitasker. And I was like, okay, well, what else? What do I do when I get there? And he's just like, just get there first. So I got there. They were like, okay, you need to grab this. And then I went and grabbed it and I brought it back. And um, like we're trying to pull this ring down. We're trying to pull this hose down, and they're trying as hard as they can to get everything under control. They stopped pressure of the jet fuel, so we weren't losing any more. And the fire team came out because they're trying to wash down all the jet fuel so that it doesn't stay on in case something catches fire. And I wasn't prepared for that, so I tripped over a water line,
Mm.
and I was like, "Oh, great! I'm going to die right here because I don't know what I'm doing." They're like, "You're doing great. Just keep, ushering people out of the way. Keep getting people out of the way." So I kept telling them, "Hey, there's a hose here. Get out of the way. Do the, go this way." And if they were coughing or they seemed like they were um, confused, to basically usher them to where safety
Mhm.
was. So after all of that was done, I think I went down into take a shower. Everybody was, everything got under control, and it seemed like it took forever, hours, but it really didn't take that long. And I remember going down into the birthing area and all of these people there covered in jet fuel waiting for a shower, and some of the fire teams were just still up there cleaning up mess, and some of the what we call RAS, which is the people that maintain all those hoses, were up there cleaning up the mess.
Okay.
And I was sitting down there and I just started crying. I can't believe that just happened. Somebody's life could have just been gone in a second. And luckily everybody was okay. We were okay and everybody was okay. But I didn't realize how dangerous my job was
Mhm.
until that moment. And I've been on lots of things where, you're lots of positions in the military. I was security force. I was on a gun mount, first female to be on a gun mount. I think they thought I was a male when they got my paperwork and put me there. And then they were like, "Oh, wait, girl." But I got to shoot a 50 cal, and that was great. And a grenade launcher, and that was cool. But more than anything, this is scary.
Mm.
This What if something happened? It was this. I think that that one incident was the hardest thing for me to overcome.
Well, I don't think a lot of people truly understand the amount of tension that some of those ropes and things, even like when you're docked and stuff or
Mhm.
connected, that the tension on those or the chains, the ropes and everything is so strong that I mean it could seriously cut somebody in half if it's
Right,
just not paying attention.
right, and that has happened on my boat previously. Before I left the boat, I was a sponsor, and I helped this kid. He was from Minnesota, and I was his, this teaching him how to do sea and anchor, which is getting those ropes as tight as we can when we dock. And I told him, don't, whatever you do, this line right here, this yellow line right here, don't get in that line. Just stay out of there. And that's your safety. Stay out of that so you have enough time to run. While they were on deployment and I was off the ship, a line snapped and cut him just below the knee, and he
Mm.
landed head first on the deck. I was like, man, what happened? When they were telling me about it, one of my shipmates from that boat was telling me about it. All I could think about was I told him not to be in that yellow line. Why did he go there? And you don't think about it until like you're in the situation. If you see something that needs to be fixed, somebody has to fix it. I guess he took it upon himself to the rope had doubled up and they needed it to scoot down, so he went to try to push it down so it would, and the line snapped and got him. That was tough to swallow. That was a tough pill to swallow as well. Just knowing that I was the guy who trained you to do all of this the right way, and you still got hurt. It was devastating, especially for my shipmates that were on the boat at the time. It was really devastating for them. It wasn't safe for medical to get out there right away. You had to do it. Whoever was on the deck already had to do any kind of life-saving maneuvers they could do to help him until medical can get there. I mean, it happened before, but luckily we were all safe and we could hear it hit the ship pretty hard. And that bang is, if you've ever heard something like that, I promise you, you'll never forget it.
It sticks with you for a while.
Yes, for a long time. So that was another incident that helped me, that haunted me for a while. Just those two things. It just, you don't realize these are people that you put your life on the line, and they're willing to put their life on for you as well. And when you just have this sense of responsibility for everything. And I'm definitely that person. I'm definitely the person that takes on as much responsibility as anybody will give me. So that was difficult. After that, I was on shore duty for a while, and then I did really well where I was at, and they wanted me to stay. But my divorce was one of those, you choose one, your daughter or the military. So my daughter, and I don't regret it. I did miss the Navy for a while. I missed the structure of it all, but I definitely didn't miss the danger of it. And again, like I said, you don't realize when you're in it how dangerous things can be. I mean, they tell you, but you don't realize. But I made lifelong friends there, and I still keep in touch with some of them, and that was great. After I got out of the service, I met my second husband, who was on the Army. We had a son, and our life was, kind of simple. I worked, he worked. He was in the Army. I took care of the kids. Everything was great. Then we went to Virginia, Charlottesville, Virginia, and things weren't so great anymore. And we decided to split up. And right after we split up, 9/11 happened. And he worked for the National Ground Intelligence Center, and he was often going to the Pentagon. And when I couldn't get a hold of him after 9/11 happened and I heard that it had hit the Pentagon, that's where my mind went. He's there. Because he's not answering his phone. He's there. So I tried to get a hold of him, couldn't. I called his parents. They didn't get a hold of him either. And my stepson was there with him, not at the Pentagon, but he was in Virginia with him. I thought to myself, who's with him? I was trying to figure out how to get to them to find out what was happening. And then finally I got a call, and he said he was at the Pentagon when it happened, but he wasn't in the area that everything happened to. He was fine. He was helping with triage. My stepson was fine. He was with a neighbor. He's like, I'm working as hard as I can to get back. So, of course, again, you don't realize even when you're on shore duty, you don't realize things happen. And that was tough. That was really scary. Not knowing for almost a whole day if he was dead or alive, and then to find out some of his people were killed. And you knew them, and you don't know how to process that because you're thankful that somebody's still alive, that the person that you were married to is still alive, but you're sad at the same time because the persons that they served with were gone. I think that was the most difficult of being an Army wife that I had ever encountered at that time. It was just so devastating for both of us. He went through some things. I went through some things. We were both uh, angry at each other. If you were gone, if you weren't gone, this kind of thing. If you weren't gone, this would have happened, or I wouldn't have been there, or something like that. It took a while to get past that with both of us, but we knew that being together was not the right thing. So we divorced, and then 10 years later, I met my third husband, Jerry Adamick, and he was in the Army. Love them Army guys.
You have a theme going.
Yeah. It's difficult when you're single and you've been in the service to be with somebody who's never been in that situation. I you had a certain air about you, but military pretty much.
Military seems to stick together,
Yes.
Even outside of the service, dating and everything.
Right.
Because I've tried to date civilians, and it just doesn't work.
It doesn't.
It doesn't. They don't understand. Now, who I'm dating currently, ex-military wife, and now dealing with my ass. So she's 5 years, and she's doing pretty good so far.
Well, that's good. That's good, and that's hard to find. Really, it truly is. Even in an ex-military person, if they don't know what you've been through, the demons that you fight every day, they can't relate. They know the service, but they can't relate the dangers that you.
Well, also in some certain aspects, they try to compete in a way.
Yes.
And that's what drives a massive wedge, I think.
Yes.
Is the competition that whether they haven't achieved what you have achieved or whatnot, or experienced what you have experienced, or even competing against a ghost.
Right. And that's hard. I mean, as it is, you'd been married before, and you don't want to be the same person that person had been, and so you're competing with that memory, and then on top of that, whatever demons that you're both holding down. So I married my third husband, and he was in the Army, and I was working here in Texas for the TDCJ. I was a pharmacy technician there, and I I remember meeting him for the first time and just like, this guy has got some demons. He's just so sad all the time. He carried it so openly. His aunt Peggy and I worked together. You need to talk to this guy. I think you need to talk to him. And I was like, I don't know. I had relationships, they didn't work out. I'm not ready. I don't want to do that again. I'm done. So, and I had just gotten out of a relationship that really, really hurt me pretty deeply. I met him, and it was like everything. He just let me talk, and I'm a nervous talker. I can't handle the silence. It's like, oh gosh, say now, or oh, that just sounded stupid. I can't believe I just said that. And I would tell him that. Why? That was stupid. I don't know why I said that, and he just started laughing. But he just let me talk, and he was just so solemn about everything, just like soaking in all of the knowledge that I was throwing at him, even though it was trivial. He he finally asked me out on a date, and we went out on this date, and he was just so angry when I met him for the date. Is everything okay? We could call this off. It's fine. I'm okay with it. I don't want to make it worse for you or whatever. And we just got to know each other. He told me his problem and what was going on, and I just listened like he did. And he's like, that's the first time somebody's actually listened to me, listened to what I was saying, not try to fix it, just listen to it. After that, we just, he was stationed at the time in Washington State. We just talked on the phone all the time. And after a while, he was coming to visit, and then he got stationed at Fort Hood, and it was like, you're closer. Now I can see you on the weekend. So we would see each other. Eventually, we got our families together and got married. And he was in the military, so of course he was deploying a lot. I was, again, the Army wife, staying at home, taking care of the kids, and working. I got a call that the FOB that he was at was attacked. And nobody knew. And of course, I went through that whole thing again. What's going on? Where's my husband? Be okay. And about after I got off that phone call, just holding on to hope, he called me. He said, I'm okay, but my buddy didn't get it so well. And he's on his way to Germany. And I kept asking him, are you okay? I got work to do. Bill it later. And I'll call you. And I said, okay. And then I cried like I'm doing now because I remember that day. He called me later on and he told me everything that happened from start to finish. And I just sat there quiet. He said, can't believe I barely missed it. That I would have been there had I not had to do this whatever thing that he decided he had to do in the middle of the night. But he got up and he said, no, we have these drills all the time. And most of the time, everybody's like, okay, we're going to do this drill. They don't tell us it's a drill, but it's a drill. And to see how fast everybody can get out. And that guy just took for granted that he thought it was a drill. It was tough. And getting him out of there, seeing how broken he was, I heard a crack in his voice. And I said, you're alive. He's alive. He may not be the same person that he was, but not a funeral that we have to go to. It brought us closer, needless to say. I mean, we had our ups and downs. We weren't exactly Ozzie and Harriet, but when you have demons on both sides, they tend to clash. So we stuck it out, and he was the rock that I held myself against when I couldn't hold it. I only hoped that I was that for him. But he was in the Army for 22 years. Then he got out. He said, hey, how do you feel about me being a police officer? I want to go into the DPS. And I said, I don't know if I could do that. I mean, I barely made it through being an Army wife, But I could see that it was something that he really wanted to do. And it was a dream of his for a long time. Didn't say no. I said, okay, let's do it. Whatever you need, I'm there for you. I'll be, your biggest cheerleader, your biggest supporter, whatever we have to do, I'll do it. So about a year after he got out, he got into DPS, went through the academy, and that was tough on him. Being away again. We were empty nesters. We didn't have any kids at home. So he's like, wife's at home by herself with the dogs, and I'm not there, and I know things need to be done, and is she doing those things, or do I need to go home and do them? And I told him, just concentrate, because that's going to save your life. I can handle things at home. Don't worry about home. I got this. He finally graduated, and things were great, and met a lot of wonderful people. And he came out of his shell from this person that was so alone and so angry all the time. And he turned into this person that didn't know a stranger. And he talked to everybody. He wanted to know their story. He wanted to help. He was a helper, and he wanted to help. Some people take that for granted, but I think he just took it in stride. If I can help you, I'll help you. If I can't, I'll find somebody who can. He was a great DPS officer. And September 15th, 2025, he was answering a call. A deputy had a suspect with a gun. It was dangerous. And he knew it was dangerous for that deputy to be by himself. So he rushed, went off the road, and crashed into a tree. And his car set fire. And he was gone. Just like that. Everything that we went through, being married as long as we were, raising kids together, everything was gone in the blink of an eye. And I remember that knock every day. I see I hear that knock on the door when they came to tell me that he had been in an accident. And the first thing I said was, "What did he do? Is he okay?" And not thinking that they would have just called me if he was fine. And he told me he didn't make it. Devastated. That was my person. He was the one I'd been waiting for all this time. All the ex-husbands that hurt me or ruined me, or ex-boyfriends or whatever that didn't understand. He's the one who did. And we worked together on everything. There was nothing that we didn't do together. And we planned everything out. We had just gotten our dream home, and um, just trying to settle in. And then this happened. Such a terrible tragedy, and a great loss to the community, and of course to our family. Because he was that guy, didn't know a stranger, talked to everybody, and he had demons. And he was working through them. And I like to think that we're working through them together. But there was some that, I just couldn't help. When you go to war as often as he had, being 4 times in Afghanistan and Iraq, and seeing the things that he saw, there wasn't any kind of medication or any amount of talking, or anything that can settle what you saw, what you did, you had to. Um, you just took it in stride and hoped one day you could heal. And that was just the hardest part of being a DPS officer's wife. I didn't realize there were so many that passed, and all these wives that were left at home, lost and alone. And a great group of women that support you. And the DPS officers were amazing. His coworker, there for every second and every step that I took. Although most of it was just a blur, I remember them offering everything, anything, name it, I'm there. And I kept thinking back to the time when I couldn't hear from him for a while, and because of the Bob being attacked. And that's like all of that pain came back, all of that anxiety came back. And at this time, he wasn't coming home. Don't think about those things when you're happy and blissful. Any day something can happen and take away the one person that meant the world to you, until it happened. And then you're just lost again. And all of your demons that you had kept at bay, during your relationship or your life, basically walking through life, they come back, and with a vengeance. Like, I was just getting to where I could be in a crowd. Christmas time, I never go Christmas shopping because I can't handle it. And concerts have to be. I can't be down in the mosh pits or whatever where everybody wants to be.
All on the back row at
Yes.
the lawn. Yes.
Yes. And I couldn't do that. And now it's back. And I don't want to be in crowds. I don't want to be around a bunch of people. I'm not isolating myself, but it's kind of like, oh, I just need him here to hold my hand, tell me I'm here. Because he was that person for me. I had been in a car accident, and speed freaks me out. It's not that I don't trust him driving, or I don't trust my driving. I don't trust anybody else's driving. And that's what had happened. A girl had hit me from behind, and she was on her cell phone. Hit me from behind. I had to have 2 back surgeries, and now I have a nerve stimulator in my back. He was there through all of it, making sure I was okay, making sure I didn't need anything or want anything. He took care of me. And now if something happens, I think to myself, who's going to take care of me? Because he was that person. And I was that person for him. Anything ever happened to him, I was there. We had a bull mastiff, and well, 2. One of them went into heat, and he was trying to separate them for a little while because we had been trying to get her pregnant, but she just didn't do it. And they told us separate them for a while, and then they'll get together, have pregnancy. But when he went out there to separate them, the dog attacked. That's my dog, girlfriend or whatever. Bit his face, bit his arm. Called the he had just come home from Afghanistan, and this happened, and I was like, "Are you kidding me right now?" So we went to the emergency room, and I had to hold his lip together so he could drink water because he was almost taken off. And the nurses and everybody were like, "You're so brave to do that." Nothing I wouldn't do for him, and he knows it. And people were coming in. Oh, we want to see the dog bite. See the dog bite. Oh, that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad dog bite. Then they'd walk out and see me there holding his lips so he could drink water and holding his hand and asking him how his pain was and checking on him seemed like every 5 seconds, but it was probably longer. Staying with him while he went to surgery and being in that hospital. Every time he moved, "Are you okay? Is everything all right? You need something?" He'd just say, "No, I'm just tired of being in this bed. I want to get out of this bed." And he's that guy, ADHD or whatever. He's got to be doing something. He was like, "I'm ready to go home." It was like the second, right, like the day after his surgery. "I'm ready to go home. They're not going to let you go. You're going to have to wait." But just caring for him through all of that and all the memories, all the things that the near misses, the fright that you felt, even with your own demons. It seemed like that was the worst. The demon of the thought that he won't be around anymore. And then it happened. And then what do? Sit there in an empty house with 2 big dogs. I have 2 Corsos. Sit there with them and in the silence and wait for him to come home. Because your brain tells you he's just on deployment or he's at work. He's patrolling.
It was a mistake.
Yeah, it was a mistake. He's going to walk in through that door any minute. And you did. And he didn't.
Yeah, we could take a break. Wow, it's probably cold by now.
Feels good.
Put a couple ice cubes in there. You had your iced coffee. I need to start doing that over the summer, just making iced coffee.
Right. I'm not an iced coffee drinker. I'm used to the oil. We call it oil slicks. The oil slicks in the coffee. And when my husband drank his coffee black. So when I see those oil slicks, it's like, oh, can't handle that. Not today.
No, I used to never really care for coffee, but after drinking in Iraq for so long, just to keep that caffeine level at an extreme level. So even now during the summer, it's hot coffee.
Yeah.
Go to Starbucks or something. I want a hot latte. You said hot? Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And, they say coffee is the lifeblood of the military.
Mm-hmm.
So I can tell you many times, having stood watch or whatever, it's like, "You need coffee?" "Yes, please."
But the worst part is, even on a very late night watch or dead dog tired, coffee only lasts for so long.
Exactly.
You might get a good hour out of that, if that. Because
Yeah.
you're going to take 15 minutes to wake up from it, then you're going to start getting tired.
And I've done that too. I've fallen asleep on watch before, and it was not pretty.
I did it. I'll admit, I did it once. I didn't like it. I felt like crap because I was sitting there in the tower and I could see the guy who's making the rounds come
Mm-hmm.
by. I'm like, I know he's coming. I'm going to sit here and wait for him. And next thing I know, I open my eyes. He's right in front of me. It's like, oh, shit. I should have stood up.
uh, Man, we had I had a watch that you sat in this really dark area. It's already dark, and you're out in the middle of the ocean, and you're we call it the fantail. Everybody goes out there to smoke, and at night, and I was sitting there, and I curled up in this spot because it was cold, and I curled up in this spot, and the next thing you know, I was out, and they were calling for me, and I didn't hear anything. And I'm usually a light sleeper, but I didn't hear anything. I must have been dog tired. Of course, the ocean lulls you to sleep even more.
And the rocking of the boat and everything.
You're just like, oh, great. I'm going to be in so much trouble.
We've had, like, when we were going from Kuwait to Iraq, it was like a 3-day, 500-kilometer vehicle march.
Mm-hmm.
At one point in time, we had to get out, do all the whole security around the vehicles, and we were out there for so long because they had to clear an IED. And you're walking around, and this one dude's just knocked out. We're like, come on, man. This might be your last minute. You gotta close your eyes, go to bed. You ain't waking up.
Right. Or if something happens, everybody else is going to run. Where are you going to be?
Or they accidentally take off without calling everybody out.
Right. And that's going to be a bad situation right there.
Because I think he was next to one of the tires. So if they just went forward, you have a 5-ton squishing you like a thing of toothpaste.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh.
And that's bad. That's bad altogether. Yeah, I know. We used to joke about people that would make us angry on the boat and be like, okay, we're out in the middle of nowhere. We don't call muster every morning. Who's going to miss them?
And how long does it take to turn this boat around to go get your ass?
Right, exactly. And that's the worst part right there, thinking about that.
Hey, Johnny, come over to the edge real quick. I want to show you these dolphins.
Right. Right.
No, you got to get closer.
Look through that hole right there.
Bad.
I don't think anybody's ever disappeared that way, but I know a lot of people have thought about it.
I mean, if they have, we might not know.
That's true. That's true. But yeah, it's some crazy. You do some crazy things when you're in the military. You think crazy things.
Mm-hmm.
I know for the Navy, for us, it was, he's going to miss you if you just push real hard. And especially if they're annoying. Oh my gosh. Because everybody in the boat knows you're annoying. And they just, who's going to be the one to push them over?
It's going to happen. It's bound to happen one of these days.
Somebody's going to get hurt. And it's not going to be me.
Johnny, just confine yourself to birthing for the next couple of weeks. Let everyone calm down and get over you.
Or stop talking to everybody for like a minute. Let everybody get over whatever you said last.
Silence is golden, but duct tape is silver.
Right. That's right. That is so true.
But I think every unit, every boat, well, I wouldn't say base because that's going to have plenty of them, but every unit, every boat, you always have that one dumbass, that one person. And you're just like, how is there always the one?
Right. There's always just that one. I on the boat when I was a yeoman, I was in charge of taking depositions for captain's mast and stuff like that. And a lot of times people would come to me because I knew the UCMJ frontwards and backwards at one point. And hey, they're trying to get me for this. Like we had this one guy, he had his tongue pierced, and there's nothing in the regs that say you can't. And at that time, probably does now.
Yeah.
But they wanted to get him for having his tongue pierced, and he's like, it's not. There's nothing in there. I've checked it frontwards and backwards, and I said, you're right. There isn't anything in there as far as facial piercings or body piercings or whatever.
There will be soon.
Yeah, but I'm sure there will be. I mean, we have tattoos, most sailors do have a bunch of tattoos. And you're like, well, I mean, it's a different form of, what is it? Defacing government property.
Yeah.
So as sunburning would be, which I always thought was a stupid thing, but it makes sense that you can't do your job.
You're
if
ineffective.
sunburned.
Yeah. But I mean, unless they're going to prescribe you sunscreen, because I've never been to CIF and been prescribed sunscreen.
Right.
And if it's from the government, I wouldn't want to wear it either.
Right. It's probably going to give you cancer.
And then they're going to write you up. And then you're
Exactly.
going to face the UCMJ again.
Exactly. I had I had a friend that we had both. It was our day off. It was a weekend, so we went to the pool, which was funny because we're in the Navy, and we went to the pool and we were tanning, and I got burnt bad. I fell asleep in the sun, and I got burnt bad. And he was like, "Quick, we got to get you to the NEX so we can get you some aloe vera." And I said, "Why?" Because it was like Saturday, and I think it was a 3-day weekend, so we weren't going to go back to work until Tuesday, and neither one of us had duty because we had Friday duty. And he's like, "Yeah, you got to get rid of that fast, or they're going to get you." And I was like, "Man, I'm burnt. I don't even want to walk. My legs hurt, my chest hurts." And that was really the only place that I got burnt the most was the top of my legs and my chest. My arms were fine. My feet were fine. Everything else was perfectly fine except for those places. And putting on my uniform was not going to be a happy day for me. So we went and got that aloe vera and put it all over, and just everybody kept giving me ideas. Oh, try Noxzema, or try this, or try that. Boy, you try anything to stay out of getting in trouble, or because you did something crazy like fall asleep in the sun. But usually it worked. I mean, I didn't get in trouble, but it was funny, all of the stuff that I was putting all over my body to keep from hurting from the suntan. And then when my chest started peeling, they're like, "Oh, you got burned." "Yeah. You didn't show it." I was, "Nope.
No.
I'm not going to either."
It's so weird to think that you can get into a lot of trouble just by accidentally getting sunburned.
Yes, exactly. And we're out at sea. The water will reflect on you. Even worse. We have that permanent ball cap suntan line. So you're like, "Man, I'm brown everywhere else except right here, wherever my uniform didn't cover." And when you're out there at sea, it's hot. You don't want to be in uniform. You don't want to be, the sun is beating down on you, and even worse with the water reflecting back at you. And then you're just like, "Man, I just want to get out of this for 5 seconds."
Because those uniforms, if they're anything like the Army's, they're not breathable.
No.
They don't let in air and stuff.
No, they don't. And at the time, it was dungarees and chambray shirts, and when you're working on the boat, you're in coveralls. So those aren't really, they're thin, but they're not that thin.
Well, not to mention the top of the boat. I mean, if you're on the deck and everything, doesn't that even have its own aspect of heat radiation?
Yes, it's kind of like asphalt.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, the non-skid, it's black, and what tracks the sun worse is black.
It's almost like being on a tarmac.
Exactly. So it was
just brutal.
Brutal, yeah. And you're constantly drinking water, and then when it's chow time, you're like, "Ugh, finally I can get into some AC for like whatever 30 minutes, if that." But yeah, then the lines were always long. You're just like, "I just want to go lay down and not move for 5 minutes." But yeah, we're always trying to stay hydrated and trying to get back inside for something, even if it's just for a minute, because it was just so hot out there.
Because even at that, you guys wouldn't really have spots of shade either.
No.
It's just plain open.
Yes. And you're just, I mean, if we have what's called jungle decks where we keep all the extra hoses and stuff like that. And when you're going down there, it's like you get this great crosswind, and it's like, "Oh, I feel so good down here." And then when you go up on top where everything else is, you're like, "Oh man, I wish I were back on the jungle decks, just getting that crosswind."
Go up top through Satan's asshole.
Right, exactly. And that's exactly how it felt, especially if you worked outside. And if you worked inside, it wasn't that big of a deal, but outside, oh my gosh, you just wanted to die half the time. It's like,
what the hell did I sign up for? I should have read the contract a little bit better.
Exactly.
What's the jobs that work inside now?
Right. And I think that was one of the main reasons why I went for yeoman, because it's like, "Oh, I'll be in an office and it'll be cool," until something happens, like, we drop, when you lose power and everything just gets stifling hot everywhere, where people are like grabbing their mattresses and taking them out on the deck so that they can sleep outside because it's cooler outside than it is inside. And you're just like, wow, this is terrible. I mean, there's been plenty of times where I remember that we would have the doors wide open, all the doors to all the berthing areas, and just because it was so stifling hot. And we have what's called coffin bunks. So they're basically built into the wall, and they're 3 high, sometimes 4. I had a big bunk because, at the time I was a petty officer, so I was like, yeah, I get to have more room in my space. Yeah, it doesn't give you air conditioning, and you have like these little vents that'll push air into your rack, but it's not.
It's not enough.
It's not. A couple of times I froze to death, but that was when we were in port. Well, we had great power. But when we're out at sea, sometimes it's not that great. The salty air is nice, except when you go inside and you have this grit on your face and you're like, oh, man. I used to tease everybody about how my hair was better when I was in the Navy because the salt water would basically keep it in place. And then I'd get out in the civilian world and my hair would be like an afro. Like, man, that just happened,
I mean, with all the salt, though, it make a good exfoliant, so
Yes.
you should have some really nice skin while in the Navy.
Exactly. Well, most of us do, unless you're not clean, which, everybody has that person. And I know a couple of times it's like, man, this is disgusting. Why do we feel this way? And when you're out at sea, you have what's called you have to have this really quick shower. It's you push a button, the water comes on, and you're able to rinse off, and then you lather up as much as you can, and then you push the button, and the water comes back on, so you can rinse it all off, and that's basically your shower. If you had a shower that lasted more than 10 minutes, it seems like you're taking a Hollywood shower, like you're at the home and taking a good old-fashioned, deep, long shower where you're able to just relax and decompress it. You don't do that now. And I still sometimes when I'm running late for work or whatever, I still take my quick showers, those really fast showers that I can't believe I got ready in 15 minutes, kind of thing. But I enjoy my long, hot showers.
I wake up early just to make sure I have a shower. I have time for my shower.
Right.
I think from being in Iraq deployed in the military and everything, I have like this now a germaphobe in a way, but I'll get dirty and everything, but I have to shower.
Yeah.
If I don't shower twice a day, no, I feel gross. I feel disgusting. Just no, not happening.
Right. My husband was the same way. He was, he never took for granted the shower. He took a shower in the morning, took a shower at night before he went to bed. Whatever he was doing, he'd take at least 2 showers a day. And I was getting to where I was taking them 2 or 3 times a day because that was the only way I could feel normal. And after a while, and I had been out for a long time. So it was like, I'm just going back to my old ways where I was before I got out, where I was taking so many showers because it was quick showers. There were quick showers. Or rinsing off, or
little bird baths.
Yeah, little bird baths. Yes, and I don't know who thought it was a great idea to do the wash rag and clean yourself that way because that does not make you feel good.
No, it actually does worse.
Yes,
you need about 5 of those wash rags, if anything.
Right, exactly. It's been like I got out in '96, and I remember my first day out. It was like, I slept to 7 o'clock, and I never sleep that late. To me, it was never that late. And I was like, wow, it's 7 o'clock. I can get up and I could do stuff and not have to go to work. This is crazy. I'm going to take a shower.
That's what I'm going to do.
That's what I'm going to do.
It's like if you're on death row, what do you want? I want a shower. Just give me a clean shower.
Yeah, a long, long shower. And I'll even take cold showers because that's what I was used to, that like we just got water out of the ocean and took a shower with that. And it wasn't warm and it wasn't hot, but it was cool enough to cool you down.
For the longest time, our shower, while deployed, it was just this giant barrel of water on top of the building.
Mm-hmm.
And so you just had just whatever pressure was from the barrel itself. And you're basically at the mercy of the sun. If you take a shower during the midday, you're going to be basically peeling your skin off. If you take it at night, you might get a warm one, you might get ice. So
It just depends.
you're at the mercy of something else.
Well, our water in the military, it's being filtered through the ship. You know, it's from the ocean. It's being filtered through, and I mean, you'll get hot water, but it's going to take a while.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can't let the water run because then you're wasting water. And when you have water hours on the boat, because that happens where you can't take a shower every day, and that's probably one of the main reasons why I take a shower every day, no matter what. It's brutal. And the only people that can take showers are the people that are down in engineering or your food people that handle your food. They're the only people that can take showers, and you're sitting there going, man, I wish I could work in them.
My shirt's sticking to me.
Right. It's like, how many times do I have to wash this shirt? I mean, you're not wearing the same uniform. You're able to change your uniforms, and they have laundry to do your laundry, and they'll, get you back out there. But man, when your clothes can stand up by themselves, it's time.
Baby wipes only do so much.
Exactly. And I know that I used to scrub the crap out of my face because it was just like, I felt so dingy all the time. And I know a couple of the girls that I roomed with, they were like, there's Roxanne again going into the bathroom at 2:00 in the morning to go scrub her face. Cause
what are you doing with your time? I want to be clean.
Right, exactly. But I knew that nobody was up at that time. Mm-hmm. So, I never set an alarm. It was like my body automatically knew. I had already trained it to get up at that time to wash my face real good and or take a shower if I wanted to. Sneak a shower, really, honestly, because, nobody was up.
That's the best time to do it.
Exactly. And it's not like there's somebody going around checking the water, So a lot of times it was just like, man. And when you have water hours, you're like, as long as you don't do number 2, you just keep it there.
Keep going.
Yeah. And you're just like, oh, man, I just want to take a shower. I remember I had a shipmate. She was she worked on the mess decks. Like you had a rotation when you were under E4. You would rotate from your job into the mess decks to do serving or wash dishes or what have you. And it was her turn into that thing. And she was like, hey, I'm getting ready to take a shower. I said, okay. It's like 4:00 in the morning. She's like, there's nobody in there but me. Okay. So I run in there and take a shower. They had 2 showers, one on each side. And we take a shower. And then I'd be like, oh, thank God I took a shower. I feel so much better now. A lot of people that had long hair would, that's not great either. So you're like, okay. They would wash it in the sink, just kind of run their water through their hair and soap it up real quick and then wash it again. But at least their head was clean. I couldn't do that. I wanted the whole body to be clean. There was no way. And I never took for granted after that a shower. And I still don't take baths, but I would rather have a shower than a bath any day. Because I feel like you're just sitting there in your crap, all that nastiness, all that.
That's why you take a shower first and then start filling the tub.
Right.
Because you're clean and now you're like, okay, now I'll relax.
Now see, I can't do that either. I don't know what it is. If I take a bath, even if I'm soaking, you're getting older, so you're all the stuff that you did as a kid where you thought you were invincible. And you played sports and you did all this crazy stuff. And then you joined the military and you did more crazy stuff. Now that you're old, you're like, oh, my body can't handle that, The
body's telling you slow down.
Yeah. And then you're like, well, if I slow down, I'll be stagnant, and I can't do that either. But I don't have the patience to be in a bathtub. And even though I want to be so bad, it would be so nice just to soak one good time. I can't.
I get too bored if I'm just laying there in a bathtub. You're like, there's so much other things I could be doing.
Right.
That's why I have a pool now.
Yeah. I wanted a pool really bad. And the bad part about having a pool and being with somebody who's in the military is that if they're not in the Navy, like you were in the Navy, they're water babies. You're a water baby. Being most of them are water babies. You want to be in the water. You want to you want to have fun. You want to do this or that or what have you. And Army guys are used to being in the desert. So it's like, water's not that big of a deal. But when they get in there, they sink. Most Army guys that I've known just sink to the bottom of the floor because they're all muscle.
I'm so light, I can probably walk on water in a way. So, no, I grew up a water baby. Loved water my whole life. So it's like, I have to have a pool. I don't care.
Right.
We would go on from one of our fobs to the next, like to Anaconda, which was Baghdad area. They had their own pool, like the in-ground pool, diving boards. And we'd be driving these trucks in 130-degree weather and seeing this going, we don't have time. We wanted to swim so bad. I've never been to a fob in the middle of Iraq with a swimming pool.
Right.
And you miss it so bad.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that being in the military, like I miss being by the ocean. That was my biggest thing. I'm going to get out. I'm going to go live by the ocean. I'm going to be, so I can see all these things coming in and, feel the salty air still. And now it's like, no, I don't want to be by the ocean.
Well, I mean, you're in Houston, so as long as we get a good rainstorm for 2-3 days, you'll be close enough to the ocean.
Yeah, exactly.
We flood enough for that.
The closest for me right now is living by a lake. My husband was like, no, we're not going to live by any oceans because hurricanes come, and then what happens? You're going to flood. So and then I kind of got spoiled because, I went from California to Florida to Hawaii. And it's like, well, those are clean beaches and they're blue. The water's so blue. And then when you're out in the ocean, you're like, oh, the water's so black. That's weird. But it's nice to see, my friends are like, I can't get in the water unless you can see the bottom of the bottom. And I was like, no. I like not being able to know what's down there.
No, like I've gone to the Galveston beach, and you can't call that a beach, really. It's just brown water. But I don't like the ocean. I'm one of those people that will not step foot in the ocean unless I have to, mainly because I have this weird thought in my head of going, I'm swimming in a giant body of water that millions of fish use as a bathroom.
Right.
And some whales take craps bigger than a school bus. I'll take fresh water any day.
Right. I know. I remember the first time being I had gotten to my first command around 4th of July. And so I was really, really ready for, this is going to be so awesome. I'm going to be by the ocean. And I got out there and I was like, oh, this is not at all what I thought it was going to be. Not at all. And in California, I used to surf. So I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to be with Hawaii where they have the Triple Crown. It's going to be so awesome. No, it's a total different animal. And it's like every beach has their one thing that you're like, this is nothing like what I thought it was going to be. And I've been to Galveston and it's not, I looked at it and I was like, ugh, I don't want to go to that one. Can I go somewhere else? Is there somewhere else I can go? There's certain parts that are, they're not bad, but there's other parts that you're just like, no. I'm not getting in that water if you paid me.
If you go to the Caribbean and see how clean and clear their water is compared to the Galveston thing, it's like, no.
No, I don't want to. Yeah, exactly. My first year in Hawaii, we had Hurricane Iniki. And that was the first time that a big storm had came through Hawaii in a while. And I was like, of course I'm going to bring natural disasters to Hawaii. Everywhere I go is a natural disaster. And I got there and they had we were all out on town, and they had people calling you, go back to your commands. And people were coming back to the boat drunk, because they were out there partying, and now you got to come back and this hurricane's coming through. And when the hurricane comes through, all of the Navy ships have to leave the docks or else you tear them up. And so all of the boats were going out as far as they could. and basically just circling around, and nobody's really doing anything cool. And everybody was getting sick because we're getting tossed around. And I'm sitting there going, why is everybody getting sick? I was the only one who was still standing, and I was like, I don't understand. Why is everybody getting sick? Why is everybody getting nauseous? This is what we do every day, right? And they're like, no, this is not the way it's supposed to be every day. This is not.
Well, especially with the amount of alcohol many of those probably consumed.
Right.
That didn't help.
I'm sure it didn't. At one point, you could practically walk on the side on the walls, because our boats were being tossed so well and so hard. And I was like, man, I'm glad we're not on a small boat. This would really suck.
Smack.
Yeah, exactly. And that was probably the first time that everybody told me, hey, you need to put your seatbelt on when you go to bed. There's this like long, this thick rope that just basically holds you at your waist, to keep you from falling out of your rack when the ship rolls. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. This is crazy. I'm just going to sleep on the floor.
I couldn't imagine being on the fourth bunk and then flying out of it.
Right.
But then if you're on the floor, you got someone from the fourth bunk flying out on top of you.
Right, exactly. So I think I slept in the berthing areas during that time because everybody was sick. And I'm a sympathetic vomiter. If I hear you vomiting, I'm probably going to vomit too. At that time I was. And since having kids, you build up a tolerance for stuff. But that time I was like, no, I'm going to throw up if I go in there and listen to everybody, gagging or whatever. So I was like, no, I'm not going in there. I'm not doing that. I'm going to sit out here. It'll be fine. I'll be fine. But I was honestly the only one on the mess decks that was still doing stuff because I was mess cranking at the time, which that's what we call it, mess cranking. And I was out there cleaning up stuff, and they're looking at me like, don't you feel bad? I was like, for what? What are you talking about? Like, aren't you sick? From the boat, going rocking back and forth. I said, no, this is like it is when you're on a surfboard. It's always like this. And they're like, oh. Then when I went to go surfing for the first time, I almost killed myself and hit a reef, and I didn't realize that was that close, or I was that close. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that again. I never surfed again after that one time in Hawaii.
I was about to say, because reefs can do some damage.
Yeah. I got reef burn from it on my shin. And I was like, man, this is going to hurt so bad. I can feel it. And after the hurricane was over and everybody was able to go out and do their thing, they're like, be careful being out on the beaches. Think, wildlife has found their way to the shores. And I got stung by a jellyfish, which was not great. And everybody was saying, well, we need to pee on you. I was like, don't even come near me with that pee stuff. I don't even want to hear it. Just stay away from me. And an old Hawaiian lady that was that lived nearby, she came up with me with meat tenderizer, and she put meat tenderizer on me. And I was like, oh, is she going to cook me later? What's going on? And she's like, no, you just need to rest and have this on you. And I fell asleep on the beach, this time under a tree. I didn't get sunburned. And when I woke up, I had this where the tentacles had wrapped around my thigh and around my waist. And I had those like scar marks almost. And I was like, man, this is crazy. This is even, it took all of that out of there, the sting out of there. And it hurt. It really hurt. And I rolled over and there's a dead baby shark next to me. And I'm like, oh, that's just great. That's what I needed to see. But I didn't even realize there was a pool of water because, the tides rolled in and these animals are trying to get out of the way of the storm themselves and get to warmer water or whatever. And they got trapped and he died. And I woke up next to it and I was like, well, that's something I wanted to wake up to every morning. These steely eyes looking at you, saying, hey, I'm here.
He just smelled the meat tenderizer.
Right, probably. He was like, oh, lunch.
What is that? I've always heard that meat tenderizer worked and the peeing on someone was a fallacy, so it's not a true thing.
Well, I don't know about the peeing because I didn't try it, but the meat tenderizer definitely worked. And after that, I was okay, and I had to go to sick calls, show them my scar from the jellyfish, and they're like, "You're lucky it wasn't a man of war," and I was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
probably, but I'm just glad that I'm not hurting right now. And the cure all for everything is ibuprofen. So
Motrin, yep.
yeah, so I got Motrin. I got my Motrin, my little 6 days worth of Motrin, so I could take that just in case I had any leftover pain. And I never used it, but man, if thinking back now, I'm surprised that there's not more kidney problems with people in the military because Motrin messes up your kidneys.
Well, the other part is I have to explain this to people too because like I can't take ibuprofen anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I can't take any NSAIDs because the Motrin because it eats your stomach lining too,
Mm-hmm.
and my stomach actually ruptured.
Oh my goodness.
Because of it, and that is one of the most painful things ever. I know. Since then, we had to keep our medicines separate. I can only have Tylenol or Excedrin without NSAID, which is not the easiest thing to ever find either.
Right.
So
that is crazy. I mean, I don't take Motrin, period, now, just because it upsets my stomach so bad. And you don't realize that, like I said, most of the people in the military have stomach problems because of that. And the food.
Yeah, the MREs and everything else too.
Right. And I used to joke about steel beach picnics with my husband. He's like, "Oh yeah, your lobster and steak every." I was like, "No, that's not at all what it was. It was like basically hamburgers and hot dogs, and everybody would go fishing that day, and whatever they caught, they would cook that too." And I was like, "No, I'm not doing that." And somebody brought aboard a fish one time, and I was like, "What the heck is that?" Because I'd never seen one that close. I lived in the valley. We didn't fish, so it's like, wow, that's a big fish. What is that? Like, oh, it's some kind of fish, and I don't remember what it was, but they cooked it that day, and I was like, "Oh, I'm never gonna eat that. That's nasty." I was in the Navy for 4 years and never once ate fish the whole time that I was in the military. And now it's like, oh, salmon sounds good or redfish sounds really good. But that's not, I was never going to eat that. And maybe shrimp. And I tried lobster once, but never fish. Never. I just couldn't stand the smell of it.
Yeah, it has its own particular smell.
Right. And, I married a country boy. My husband was born and raised and here in Texas and lived in New Waverly his whole life. And he did fishing and hunting and all of that stuff. I never did any of that stuff. And I would never expect that one day I would be doing that stuff. And oh my gosh, he would clean a deer and eating deer meat. I was like, oh, that's Bambi. Why would you do that?
Because Bambi tastes good.
He does, actually. He really does. And I go home and people are like, you eat this stuff and you did that? Oh, that's so gross. They're like, you don't know. It's good.
One of the best meats I've ever had was kangaroo.
Really?
Yes, I was in Germany and there's this little place called in Pottenstein. They're called steak on a stone. They have water buffalo, alligator, beef, and pork. But they bring it out to you on this hot stone and you just basically cook it yourself right there at the table.
Oh, that's crazy.
And it is some of the best meat that I had. They also had ostrich. I didn't get to try that one, I don't think. But
the closest thing I got to trying something new, well, I mean, I tried octopus and I didn't like it, but was shark. And I did try shark, and that's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad either, especially if you like, some of them have dipping sauces or whatever, but that was really good. But yeah, I never tried anything like that. We went to Singapore, and that was the first time I saw what a shrimp looked like for real, because they still keep the heads on the shrimp when they cook them, and you have to peel them apart. And the only time I ever done something like that was crawfish. And I was like, I didn't know shrimp looked like this. This is kind of sad. I don't want to eat it because its beady eyes are looking at me, But you don't realize when you go to all these ports, the stuff that you're used to seeing, you're not going to see that.
Yeah.
And but we went to Singapore, we went to Hong Kong. I went through Bahrain and Jebel Ali, and just some of those things. I was just like, wow, this is crazy. And I think I ran out of deodorant on the boat, and I was like, oh, we're going to be out in town in Bahrain. Let me just see if I could find some deodorant. They don't sell deodorant.
Oh.
They sell oils. And I was like, that makes so much sense now why things smell certain ways.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, what am I going to do? So I had written my mom, because back then it was still snail mail. And I told her, Mom, please send me some deodorant. I mean, I need it badly. So meanwhile, I'm using lotion and powder until I can get. So I probably, closed up a whole bunch of stuff going on in my armpits for a while just to wait for this stupid deodorant. We had some on the boat, but it's not the kind that I used. So I was like, I didn't want to get it, 'cause I'm not used to that kind of thing, and I don't know what it'll do. I don't know if it's going to work, kind of thing. And I got desperate. I was like, I'm just going to buy the men's speed stick and just deal with it, But after a while, it was like, yeah, that men's speed stick, then you go around smelling like a man too. Then you get the oils so that you don't smell like man.
I mean, if you're on a big giant boat anyways with a bunch of different dudes, might as well smell like them.
Yeah, at least,
Fit
yeah,
in.
Exactly.
But I mean, it's got to be so weird going to all these different ports and seeing the whole different culture and customs and everything.
Yes. I think the funniest thing, because I like to chew gum, or at the time I did. I like to chew gum, and my gum had lost flavor, and they're like, don't spit it out on the ground. You're going to get arrested. And I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, didn't you read because we put out this plan of the day, and sometimes it'll have a custom at the bottom. And of course, I'm writing it, so I don't read it. And I'm like, I know everything that's going on, but I didn't even think about not spitting out my gum. And so I had a paper, and when I got back to the boat, I had like 6 papers with gum wrapped up in it. And I was like, I got to throw this out of my, my pockets, because if I wash it with the gum in there, it's going to stay in there forever.
Yeah.
So just because I couldn't spit gum out on the street or in the trash can, you can't spit, period.
I think China and Japan are like that.
Yeah.
They're very strict about their gum. And because even with some of their gum packages, they give you the little papers to be able to wrap your gum in and throw it away.
Right.
So.
Right. And oh man, it's been crazy. We went to Kimhae, Korea, and I had to go to the bathroom. We're on the dock, and I had to go to the bathroom. They're like, okay, that building over there is where the bathroom is. So I went over there, and it was just a hole in the ground, and it went straight down to the ocean. And I was like, nope, not doing that. I'll just wait till I get on the boat.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, if you're just there, but
yeah, no.
I've been to a couple of places like that it's just the bathroom's just so awkward. You're going, I can wait.
Yeah,
we're gonna wait.
I'll just hold it. You don't think about these things, the little comforts, like sitting down on a toilet when you go to a foreign port. And we went to Kimhae, and we went to Yokosuka, Japan, and not Yokosuka, I'm sorry. But being at these places, in the wintertime, you don't realize how cold it is. Like, I had wool socks. I had like athletic socks on, wool socks, and my my steel-toed boots, and I still was freezing.
Oh wow.
And I had my long johns underneath. I think you guys call them ninja suits. And like the real thin thermal outfits. I had that on, and a long sleeve shirt and everything. I was still freezing to death, and I had a wool coat on. It's like, what is going on? This will cut through me. And at the time, I was like maybe 130 pounds, and I thought, well, I'm all muscle. It's going to be great. No, it was not great, and I thought I was going to freeze to death just walking from the cafeteria to my barracks room.
Yeah.
I was like, this is crazy. I've never in my million years would have thought this was going to happen. But,
well, people get so amazed when I tell them that it snows in Iraq.
Yeah.
Because when you're out there on a tower duty in the middle of the night in the wintertime there, it's fucking cold.
Yeah.
And then you just start seeing snow, and you're like, okay, is something on fire? Is that ash? Or are we actually snowing? This is so awkward.
Right. It snows out in the ocean, too.
That's what I was going to ask you about that earlier.
Yeah, it does.
That had to have been interesting.
It was. We went from, so we were getting ready for our battle. We're riding with our battle group, and we're getting ready to go on Westpac. And we went up to Alaska in the wintertime. And the fog was so thick. Like we had to have people on the ship, in front and on the sides and in the back, just to make sure we weren't going to hit anything.
So you don't pull a Titanic.
Yes, exactly. Like and let me tell you, there was a couple of times where like, who do you have in the front? Maybe we should change that person. Their glasses are pretty thick. Maybe we should get somebody who has really good eyesight.
Let's remove Four Eyes Johnny.
Right, exactly. But we went through there, and it was so dark, and the fog was so thick, like you could barely, even walking on the ship to go to relieve somebody from watch, it was like, well, you're doing your, putting your hands out, making sure you don't run into anybody. And it was just so thick. And then all of a sudden you'll feel like this little flake. And you're like, what was that? You're thinking in yourself, okay, something just hit me. What was it? But then it starts to get a little bit thicker and you're like, oh, okay, it's snow. I got it. Or we're okay. And I was like, wait, we're like far away from the shore. Why is it snowing out here?
And it's one of those weird things you never really think about, but in hindsight, it completely makes sense that there's going to be certain areas over the ocean where it's just snowing.
Right. And that was mind blowing for me. We got to British Columbia, and that was a whole new world for me too. I didn't know that Canada, but I didn't know it existed that way. And you're just looking at it like, wow, this is beautiful. It's like the fairy tale, the fog lifted and then it just opened up and you see this beautiful little area where our boat can pull into port and this beautiful hotel that's overlooking the ocean. And you're just like, wow, that's gorgeous. It's like a fairy tale, and then you get out there and it's all, everybody's like hippie, with their crystals and their marijuana, and there's everybody's drinking, and they have like these big totems sticking up out of the on a street, just random. What is that for? It's like, oh, there's used to be like loggers and stuff like that. They would have like these beautiful carved totems, and it was just amazing. And I was like, wow, that's just literally right across the bay from Seattle, Washington. And I was like, wow, that's crazy that it's so close and didn't even know it existed.
It doesn't exist until you put eyes on it.
Right, exactly.
Because I grew up in part-time in Oklahoma where you would have those big Native American totems kind of like that. And those are amazing to see in their own world. Right.
And it was just crazy. A lot of places that I looked at, like, I've been to Mexico before, but like to Tijuana. Let's be honest, we all know what happens in Tijuana. But we went to Acapulco and went to saw the porpoises. I didn't know there was a difference between a porpoise and a dolphin. And porpoises are pink. The ones in Acapulco were. And I was looking at them and I was like, this is crazy. This is the craziest thing I've ever seen. And they're crisscrossing in front of the boat. And you're like, please don't get run over.
Oh, they love playing with boats.
Yes. And you're just looking at them like, wow, this is crazy. This is amazing. And then you pull into Acapulco and you're like, it's just like, I don't know. It's like this rundown town. And at the same time, it's like a metropolis. Everybody goes there to vacation. And there's markets all over the place. You can buy things. And I'm like, going to the store, okay, it's $5. Here's your $5. I didn't know you could haggle everything that that they're selling. And so I'm sitting there going, well, I don't know, $30 is pretty high or whatever, And they're like, no. Okay, how about 25? No, that's still too high. And I start walking away, and they're like, okay, wait. They're chasing you, and you're like,
15. What does $15?
Yes, $15. And I'm like, oh man, this is crazy. And I walk away with this handcrafted things. Some of them are doing handcrafted stuff, and I had a chess set actually that I got from my brother-in-law, and it was these hand carved chess pieces, and it was beautiful on this marble chess board. And I thought, oh, this is going to be so awesome. He's going to love it. He's just going to love it. And I sent it to him, and he was like, because he collected chessboards. And I was like, yeah, I got that in Acapulco for like $10. He was like, what? That's so crazy. I was like, yeah, this is, I mean, it clearly looked like it was worth way more than that, but I got it for $10 because I thought the $30 was too high, and I just kept walking away until they finally came after me. When I walked back through, they're like, okay, I give it to you $10. Oh, okay.
Well, you also got to think of the conversion rates too.
Right.
That helps. Because I know when we went to the bazaars in Iraq, you would get all sorts of offers for different things. You want black market DVDs and 12 for $5. Well, 12 DVDs for $5? I can't beat that.
Right.
And then they'll try to upsell you with all these other different things. And they're like, you want to buy radio? No, I know what you guys do with electronics. We're not doing this shit. I know that scheme.
Right. Yeah, no, I think the only thing, when I was in Japan, I bought my first CD player, and that thing was a block. You know, I don't know if when they first came out, they were so heavy, and I remember buying it and thinking I got it for a steal, you know, because back in the States, it was like hundreds of dollars, and there I got it for like maybe 40 or $50. And I thought, oh man, I got it for a steal. This is going to be awesome. And I listened to it till it broke, like literally broke. And I was like, man, I remember all of these. The first Game Boy that I ever got, that was another block. And I thought, wow, this is crazy. And now looking at all of our electronics now and how sleek, and you know, most cars don't even have a CD player in them anymore. And I have all these CDs. What am I supposed to do with these? Because I had on the boat, you always had something. And then when you got older, you know, you got used to having that music with you when you work. So now you got CD players at home, and what are you going to do with all this stuff now?
Yeah. I mean, it's insane to think that our smartwatches today have more technology power in them than Apollo 13 did.
Right.
It's like, wow.
That is crazy. That's mind-blowing, actually. And just, you know, you thought, oh, I got the first one from Japan, and this is going to be so awesome. You know, Sony, of course. And but now I'm like, wow, that's crazy that I spent $40 on a CD player, and now I could buy one for $5 at a pawn shop.
I remember when it went from CD player to the MP3 player, and that was like the size difference. And you didn't have to worry about the CD skipping and shit. And then iPod came out.
Yes.
And then all the streaming services.
Right.
So
now I don't think I have an iPod anymore. I have one, but I don't know where it is. I'm sure I have one somewhere. But I think I had every electronic that came out because I'm a gadgets person. And, you know, being in the military, you always try to find something that's the next best thing to help you get things done.
To get through the damn day.
Yes, exactly. You know, like, I mean, I remember when I first came on board, I walked into the bosun locker, and one of the bosuns was in there smoking. And I was like, you can smoke in here? You know, I didn't even know that was a thing. And he goes, well, you're not supposed to anymore. You know, you got to be outside. So he would just step outside the door and smoke. And I was like, that's just crazy. I didn't even know that was a thing. Yeah. And now, and you know, I don't know what they do now, but when I got further into my service, I would go on the fantail. That was the only place you could smoke, was on the fantail. You couldn't smoke in the front of the ship. You couldn't smoke in the ship. You had to smoke on the outside, in the back. And I was like, man, I feel like we just did a Rosa Parks with the smoking thing. You know, everybody goes to the back of the bus to smoke. And it was like a what is it? Like everybody a community would get there, and we'd talk and talk about what's going on, and hatch a plan for whatever was going to happen next. And a lot of people that didn't smoke would just go out there
just to be a part of the group.
Yeah, exactly.
I know with us, when we worked in garrison, you would know when people went to go smoke. You'd see them going down the hallway like, you going to go smoke? Yeah. And then slowly everyone else would start filtering in until now you got 20 people around the smoke pit going, John, you don't even smoke. What the fuck are you doing down here? Right. Everyone else is down here. If you guys can have a smoke break, I'm going to take 5 minutes. Okay. Makes sense?
Yep. I know we used to call it a fresh air break, we just need fresh air. But or in the Navy they call it joking and smoking or coking and smoking sometimes too. And so you sit out there with your soda and your cigarette and just sit there and laugh, and then you look around like, where we're going to put this thing? In the ocean. Everything just goes over the side. But even though we had these like buckets with sand in them so you can extinguish your cigarette or whatever, a lot of times people just flick them over the side. And I was like, man, that poor fish now has nicotine. Way to go.
That shark's going to be craving nicotine for the next 5 years.
Right.
And he's going to remember you.
Exactly.
But you also got to think, though, at one point in time in our history, you could sit there and smoke in a building. Like in the lobby of a government building.
Right.
Ashtray right next to the couches and shit.
Yes. And you could also drink on duty, at the time. I remember when I first started, they told me you could have up to 2 drinks. And we used to have what everybody calls liquid lunch. We'd go out there and have a drink and then come back to work. But I said, now they're just making us be alcoholics. And I fell into it. I'm not going to lie. I would have, my shot of tequila with a Corona chaser and go back to work and then come back and have the same thing all over again, but it's just the funny things that how much things have changed. I don't think the Navy does that now where you're able to drink while you're on duty.
Probably not.
Yeah. I know that you couldn't drink when you were in uniform, like for a while. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. What do you do during balls? Take off your jacket?
Yeah. Well, I mean, because I also remember when I was in Germany, we weren't allowed to wear our uniform off base because in Germany, you also have the Turkish. Turkish don't like Americans,
right.
And wearing your uniforms is a huge signal light. So, I mean, coming back to the States, you were allowed to go home and with your uniform on and stuff, but then you'd see people on Walmart and like, what the fuck are you doing in your uniform, dude? Get out of that.
Aren't you tired of wearing it?
I like it. It makes me distinguished, makes me look responsible and authoritative in Walmart.
In Walmart.
Dude, that janitor has more power in this store than you do.
Exactly.
Stupid privates.
Right. It's usually
it's
those.
The lower ones.
It's usually those. It is.
They got that chip on their shoulders like, man, reality's about to bitch slap you.
For real. I remember going to the NEX and, in my shorts and a tank top because it's Hawaii, and seeing all those privates coming out with their uniform and their 6 little shopping bags. And I'm like, you just spent your whole check in there, didn't you? What did you buy?
Liquor, cigarettes, and coffee. You are now broke.
Right, exactly.
Or then you get that new E1, E2 that leaves the car dealership.
Right.
And you just like, 30% interest, huh? Good deal.
I never had that problem. Everybody always got the hoopties, the lemon lots. There was so many in Hawaii, and you would just go and pick up one that somebody just left the island and had an extra car and left it there to be sold.
Because it's just cheaper to sell it there than make the government bring it back.
Exactly.
There's so many requirements.
Exactly. I think I bought my first car from somebody who PCS'd on the island, and it was a Pontiac Sunbird, and it just reminded me of home, because I grew up in this little rinky-dink town, and it's all cholos, and and they fix these cars up or whatever. And I remember being in it, thinking, "Yeah, I'm back home." And I had gotten into a car accident. My car hydroplaned in the Leaky Leaky Highway tunnel, and I crashed it. It was bad. Luckily, nobody was really severely hurt. One of my passengers had broken her leg in 7 places, but we were okay.
If it was a modern car, you'd all be dead.
Right, that's true. And you couldn't even tell that my car had been in the accident until you walked around to the front of it. So it was like, wow, this is crazy. But I remember being afraid to drive for a while because of that. I did everything that I was supposed to do. Of course, my command was mad, and they were like, "The next time you want to kill somebody, you know," I was like, "Oh wow,
Do it on your own.
yeah, do it on your own time, not on the military time." I'm like, seriously, that's the takeaway you got, that I tried to kill everybody.
Hmm.
I mean, it wasn't even my fault. It floods in that area so much, and there's so many accidents on that area. I just happened to be the one that day. And luckily there was no traffic going on at that time, which was a blessing because there was nothing
Yeah.
for me to hit except for the concrete walls. And she tried to wedge her foot to keep herself from sliding all over the place, which is why she broke her leg so many times. But I was like, wow, okay, this is how we're going to do it. Sounds great. Well, I mean, if you think I was trying to kill people,
Yeah.
I can't stop you from thinking that. Hurt my feelings, not gonna lie. And I took it really hard and tried not to drive for a while.
Mm.
But of course, my job is, you know, going to every base on the island to give them comms from, so I had to drive, and I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I don't want to drive. Please don't make me. But they made me, and I went out there and I did everything that I was supposed to do and finally got over my fear of driving. So now I drive fine, but now I'm always worried about pulling water, and
Hmm.
I'm always checking for ice on the road. I mean, not that Hawaii has ice, but that's another thing, that black ice, you don't see it. You're going to skid the same way you did if you're hydroplaning. So I've never been in a car accident before. That was my very first car accident. And I thought, I'm never going to drive again, ever again. But I did, got back on that horse and started driving. But oh man, even to this day, just looking, like I'll watch Hawaii Five-0 and I'll see them go through that tunnel. I'm like, oh, that's where I almost died.
I know that spot.
That's where I hydroplaned. And I like doing that with my kids sometimes, because my daughter was born in Hawaii. And I'll tell her, oh, you need to watch Hawaii Five-0. This is where you were born. Or that's Diamond Head. This is that. And this is where your friend so-and-so. This is where my friend so-and-so got married. And, they show all these places. And she's like, Mom, I don't remember any of that stuff.
I don't remember. I don't care right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait till I'm 20. I'm
Right.
asking you.
Right. I used to tell her, one day I'm going to take you to Hawaii so you can see everything. But everything has changed so much. And it's even here, my husband was like, I remember when this was barren right here. There was nothing here. And now it's like so many things have built up. I didn't even know that there was a Target and a Walmart in the New Caney area, because when I was here many, many years ago, when I first got here, that wasn't there. It was just fields.
Oh, this area has changed so much. It was maybe 2-3 years ago, we just got the 4-lane road in, because it used to be 2.
Right.
Now, the problem is that light that you turn in to come in this way, so dangerous, because it's a yellow flashing light with 2 red lights. People will stop for a yellow flashing light. And you can't say that you think it's going to change to red, because you can see it miles down before you even get to it. And we were out, not yesterday, but the night before, got in the pool. Wow. And you're like, oh, in about 5 minutes, we're going to be hearing sirens. And it must have been a doozy of one, because there was a lot of activity up there.
Wow.
But no, they've built this all up. They put a big old bridge going down towards Conroe. McDonald's is everywhere. We got a gas station on almost every street light. It's ridiculous. It used to be really, really beautiful, wooded and everything. And now it's just so built up. It's going... This ain't what I got here for.
Right. This is what I moved here for. Well, I moved from after I got out of my second husband and I split up. I went to Charlotte, North Carolina, stayed with my sister there, and then my mom was like, "Hey, you need to do something with your life." And so I came home, brought my 2 children with me, and went to college. I went to Bakersfield College and. San Joaquin Valley College and in Bakersfield, and went become a pharmacy tech. And my mom was like, you need to get into healthcare, because healthcare, they're always looking for people. And I thought, well, she's probably right, but I don't want to work in healthcare. I don't want to wipe anybody's butt. So pharmacy was probably the only thing that I could do, that I wasn't going to run into something like that. But surprise, you do. But I did go to school and everything. My unfortunately, my mom passed away while I was still in college, and I had just finished college, and I was going through my externship, and she had passed away. And my sisters were like, "Well, what are you going to do now?" I said, "No, I'm moving back to Charlotte, North Carolina, because I need to start my own life. I need to pick myself up by my bootstraps and do stuff." And I was struggling. Boy, I was struggling so hard. Living in Charlotte. Charlotte's really expensive. And my best friend, Alina, my shipmate, had just gotten out of the service, and she's like, "Hey, I'm moving back to Texas. You need to move here. I got this job working for TDC at the pharmacy. You need to do that. You need to come down here. It's going to be good for you. It'll be good for you." So I moved out here with the intention of just trying it out, to see if it's something that I wanted to do. And I loved it here. I fell in love with it here. And because it reminded me of home. I lived in this farming community, and a lot of the area where we were staying in Alaska was woods, and it was beautiful, and I loved it. And so I stayed, and then I met my husband here, and then we traveled. We lived in Fort Hood, and then we moved to Mississippi, and then we came back to Texas. And I mean, Mississippi, I wouldn't recommend it. It was not what we were ready for. And it was a college town, so you had a lot of idiots running around. And I worked for a hospital at the time, which was like the best experience I could have as a pharmacy technician. And I enjoyed the work, didn't like living there at all. My kids didn't like it. My husband didn't like it. I mean, he was an instructor for the National Guard. He was, getting them battle ready, basically, and working for First Army. And it was crazy. It was crazy. Everything that happened there. Like, I've never seen snake bites, so many snake bites before in my life. The hospital, working at the hospital, there were so many snake bites. And I was like, this is crazy. You got to do all of this? Really? This is crazy. Why are you messing with snakes? Leave them alone. I set them on fire if I could. But it was just a totally different lifestyle. And then moving back to Texas, we were both like, oh, thank God we're back in Texas. But and so that was just one of the things that, being a military family, you move around a lot. Well, my husband did everything that he could to make sure that the kids had a stable lifestyle. And he would just move around from job to job to job till he couldn't move around anymore on base at Fort Hood. And then we had to PCS. But in the Navy, you couldn't have done that. You couldn't have done. You go where they send you. You don't get a chance to move around. You're either on a boat or you're on shore duty, or you're off the island. Yeah. Basically, you got voted off. And living in Hawaii, there's only so many things you can see, and then you're like, okay, I want to go home, or I want to go visit, or I want to go do something else. And being on the boat, you do get to see a bunch of things. We traveled a lot. You spend majority of your time of the year out at sea. If it's not a 6-month tour, it's the 3 months before you hit that 6 month, getting battle ready, making sure the ship is running the way it's supposed to, and that what's going to happen, or what you're supposed to do when something hits the fan. And so it was just a different lifestyle. And my husband and I used to always have these Army-Navy game conversations, like when the Army and Navy game came on. First of all, why did they choose Pearl Harbor Day to have these Army-Navy games? And we would go through that whole situation, like, why did they choose Pearl Harbor? Weren't we all on the same side at that time? The Navy got bombed first and the Army came in and rescued you guys. It's like, no, that's not how it happened. That's how the movie went, but that's not how it happened. And we would just, have these conversations of how different lifestyles that we had being in the service. And of course, he would tease me about, steak and lobster for dinner every night. And I was like, I wish that was the case. But no, I mean, I found out what shit on a shingle meant.
Oh, yeah.
And what sliders were and gut bombs were. And these are things that you don't really want to know. And to this day, I cannot eat an egg to save my life. I want to. I have to be in the mood to actually eat it. But
yeah, but the real ones are better than powdered.
That's true. But when you go through now it's called hazing, but when you cross the equator, I'm a shellback, you have to go through this ritual,
yeah, ceremony.
Yes, and it's wonderful. And one of them is putting a frozen egg in your mouth until you hit the yolk. And that is probably one of the main reasons why I don't like eggs.
Oh, yeah. No.
But yeah, and we don't really talk about all the hazing that went on, which to me it was good fun and it was a rite of passage. But now it's not seen that. Some people will take it that step forward.
Some people will take it way too far.
Yes, and I see that there has to be guidelines, but I mean, I don't remember it that way. There was a couple of times that it was like, okay, I could see where this is like too much, but. Other times it's like, it's all in good fun. You just have a good sense of humor about it.
Yeah, it depends on your personality. Because, I mean, some people, you can go in and you kind of already expect the hazing to come from. It's just like when you join a frat house. But
right.
there are some people that can go in and deal with it. And then there's some people that just crumble under it and just everyone's being a bully and whatnot.
Right. And I think that's the biggest injustice that we've given our new military coming through is that all of these traditions and rite of passages, they're watered down so that you're not seeing what the real meaning is.
They've been softened.
Yes. And I think that was one of the reasons why my husband was like, okay, I can't do another 4 or 5 years of the Army because I can't deal with if I yell at somebody and their feelings get hurt, it's like, look, that's how I talk. You're going to have to deal with it.
It changed too much over time.
It did. And it was disappointing. I think that we have a strong military, but we're still soft in a lot of places. And not that I don't think that mental health is not a good what's the word I'm looking for? Something to be aware of. I absolutely, positively, without a shadow of a doubt, feel that if we didn't have a stigma about mental health in the military, we would probably be stronger people in the military. But when you don't get that help when you're there, it eats at you.
Oh, yeah.
It eats hard at you. And I didn't. When I was in, I didn't want to, I went to therapy. I was like, oh God, what's wrong with her? And I've seen some shit, and my husband had seen some shit. And I know a lot of people out there, no matter what branch of service you're in, you've dealt with some crappy, a crappy hand. But if there wasn't that stigma, I think things would be better.
It would, because you're not really allowed to talk about mental health while in the military. Because
Right.
First off, what's everyone else going to think? Your brothers are going to think you're weak. Your sister's going to think you're weak. But then if the higher command knows, that's a career killer.
Yes, it is. It is. And I think that because of that, people just shove it down and they find other vices like drinking too much or abusing something, of some sort. If it's not abusing your spouse or your children, it's abusing your alcohol and your drugs. And it's because you don't have any place to put that hurt or that release any of that guilt that you have. Because a lot of your PTSD is from guilt. And I didn't realize that until I had it myself, and the more that now that I'm out and I've I've gone to therapy and I've tried to deal with some of these demons. If it's being the vet or the veteran's wife, it's being the DPS widow. You know, I've learned real quick that I need to get those things in check if I'm going to be a better person, a better mom, even somebody who's more compassionate in my job as a healthcare provider. You know, because I work in a pharmacy, I see you at your worst. I'm hardly ever going to see you at your best. And when I do, it's like, oh, I'm so glad I'm seeing you at your best, you know. But I need to check that too, because I can't be at my worst when you're at your worst. That's not.
It's just going to make everything worse.
Exactly. And that was, I worked really hard to get that in check. And, you know, when my husband was going through his demons, it was hard for me too, because I was taking on those demons with him. And, you know, trying to figure out how can I make it better for him? How can I, as his wife, take some of that from him so that he can still function? And, you know, it was just a lot of communication, you know, a lot of communication between him and I. We became best friends. We told each other everything that was going on in our lives that was bugging us. And sometimes he would shut down, and I knew that it was something that I couldn't help him with. And I was like, who can you talk to? Who do you need to talk to get this off your chest? Because you have something that's deep in you that you need to get out. And because if you don't, you're gonna take it out on all of us. And I mean, not that it was, you know, he was physical or anything like that. It was just that, you know, when you're in that mood and you're just, every little thing just irritates the crap out of you. And I've been in that mood, so I know. And
you don't want your family walking around eggshells all day long.
Exactly.
And that's just going to even exacerbate the tension that's in the house and everything else.
Yeah, I used to have to tell him, you know, he would say something or do something. I was like, look, we're not in the military with you. We're your family. We're not your soldiers. We're your family. And so you need to hang it up outside.
Mm-hmm.
And when you come inside, you're dad and you're my husband. You're not Sergeant First Class or Master Sergeant, whatever. You're not that soldier when you come home. When you're home, you're my husband. You're their father, the kid's father. And he was like, yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I need to figure that out. I need to figure out how to not shut it off, but put it on the back burner until I can deal with it.
Tone it down.
Yes. And it's been rough. You know, it was a rough life for us from, you know, the time that we met to the time that he passed. It wasn't always champagne and strawberries. You know, we were deeply in love, but at the same time we had our moments. But who doesn't?
Yeah.
As any wife and husband, you know, you're going to have those moments.
I think that's where social media plays a big aspect in that, because when you look at social media, you only see the happy moments and stuff, and you don't see the crap that's going on behind the scenes. You don't see how bad it is. I mean,
right.
Hell, look at recently, so many YouTubers are getting busted because their stuff behind the scenes came public, and it's not good.
No, it's not.
It's not as peachy as everyone thinks.
Right, exactly. It's not. And you know, being like when I first got out, I had struggles, you know, being freshly out of the military, because I expected things to be a certain way, even in the civilian world, and it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, it's so frustrating, you know. That to me, because, you know, you're used to the structure, you're used to the basically the chain of command of how things work, and when you go into a civilian job, you're like, this is nothing like that, you know, and this is chaos, and I can't stand it, and I don't want to work here anymore. And you know, after a while, it's like, I don't even want to be here. You know, I hate my job, I hate my life, whatever. And then you sink in a hole that you feel like you can't get out of because you're lost.
Yeah.
You're not that sailor, you're not that soldier, you're not that Marine or airman. You're not that person anymore. But that's what built you. That's not who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me a long time to get to that place. By the time, because, when I was married to my second husband, he was in the Army. So I was still used to that structure. I knew what time he was going to go to work. I knew what time he was going to be home. I knew, what needed to be done. I had like a schedule. I had a schedule a routine that we all were used to, and we stuck by it. And then when we separated and 9/11 happened and chaos blew up basically in my life, it was that hard to rein it back in and gain control of what you were doing with yourself. My kids were very small. My son was 4 and my daughter was 8, and it was just chaos for us. We went from having this home and this lifestyle to, I don't know what's going to happen next. And it was scary. And for any single parent out there knows, you don't know what's going to happen next. And you don't know if you're prepared for what's going to happen next. And you're afraid, am I going to make enough money to pay the rent, or pay my cell phone bill, or pay my electric bill? Are we going to have food after everything is said and done? And you don't. Well, like for me as a service member, I didn't think that the VA was something that I could go to, and because I was still an able body, I could still work. I can still, I had my mind wasn't as great as it should be, but I could still do things, and I was functionable. And the same thing with food. I didn't want to go to assistance. I didn't want to, my pride, call it. I didn't want to go and see if I could get on assistance. My mom had to make me because I couldn't do it by myself. And until I could get my ducks in a row, when all of them had ADHD and were running everywhere, I had to figure out the next step and do it by myself. And I did. I finally got to that place where it was like, okay, we're not living paycheck to paycheck, but we don't have a whole lot of extra money at the same time. And we can do things, but we can only do so many things. And I tried to give my kids as much structure as I could. And then when my husband and I got together, my husband Jerry and I got together, he had kids that were just lost from the word go. They didn't, his divorce was terrible. I mean, that's putting it very lightly. It was emotional and at times just downright evil. The whole it was emotionally draining for him, and she wasn't a very kind person, and not even to her own children. So it was making it that much harder and making him want to fight that much harder. But all they knew was her because he was in the military for so long. So that was rough. And for him to feel like he wasn't going to be a good father or a good provider when he was this whole time. He may not have been there every second of every day like she was, but he cared and he loved them unconditionally. And he did everything that he did was for them. They just didn't see it that way. And of course, now that they're older, they see it. And of course, I never let them disrespect him in any way. I was a firm believer is I will give you your say as long as it's respectful. You can tell me how things are, but don't disrespect me in any shape or form. And because as soon as it is, I'm cutting it off, and we'll go to our separate corners, and we'll figure it out later on. Come back and try it again. And it's my way or the highway with that knife hand, And I said, sometimes you just got to learn how to compromise just a little bit. And I'm not asking you to compromise in the military. I'm asking you to compromise at home. And it worked for us. It worked, and our family was stronger, and we got very close. And um, all of us are, I love my kids. I call them my kids, even though some of them are not biologically mine. They are mine physically, and there isn't anything that I wouldn't do for them. And they know it, and they know that that's the way their dad was too. And so when we do these things, when we fight these demons inside of ourselves, we don't realize how much it affects our children. And it's one of those things that you're just like, well, they'll get over it,
They'll grow out of it.
They'll grow out of it, or they'll figure it out later on, and it doesn't. It puts a lot on them. And his kids went through some very tumultuous situations, and they were lost for so long without him. And now then they finally get him back, and he's there, and he's 100% father. Went to games, went to award ceremonies, whatever. He was there. He was that person occupying that seat. And whatever the kids wanted to do, as long as they gave 100%, we backed them 1,000%. And so they saw that father. They got to see that father. And then when he passed, it's like they're lost again. Yeah. And so am I. But they know they still have me. I feel like a constellation, because I'm not their dad. And he was a warrior from the word go. He hated injustice, and he always fought the bully for them. Of course I do too, but he was a little bit stronger about it because he was more vocal. I was the kind of person that I would go and have that conversation. I was go to the principal, have that conversation. But he was the one like, who is it? Mm-hmm. Tell me who it is, and I'll go talk to their parents. And I don't know if that's going to work, honey. That's not, that's not how we do things right now in the civilian world. Whereas in the military, that's what you did. If your soldier was messing up, you went to his chain of command and you're like, hey, that soldier is messing up. You need to fix it. But in the civilian world, you can't do that, especially not with kids. Yeah, they kind of get mad about that. Why are you coming up to me? But at the same time, you're just sitting there, just telling yourself, I know I'm not dad, but I am a warrior too, and I will gain that. Whatever you need, I'm here. If you need to talk, if you need something in your life that you're missing, I'll do whatever I can to help you get it. And we're stronger for it. Of course, he was the glue that held us all together, because sometimes they'd get mad at me, or they would get mad at him, and you always need that other person to be like, why are they being like this, or why is she so this way, or why is he so this way? And you kind of need that one person to explain what's going on to the kids, because they don't get it, and they're not going to get it until they have kids of their own, which is always that that wonderful thing. I hope you have kids just like you, so you can see what I went through. And but it doesn't always work that way. But in the end, you're like, see, I knew this was going to happen one day. And my kids didn't know their father's life story until he passed. And then a lot of the secrets came out, a lot of the things that he had gone through as a child, as a teenager, in the Army, and then also as a DPS officer. The kids were made aware. And I think that made them respect him more, but at the same time miss him more.
Yeah. A whole different understanding that they had no idea of.
Right. And I wish there was more
for like, because we have grandkids. I wish there was more help for like the grandkids that would help them understand what sacrifice was made, because all they know is that their papa was not coming home, or like our grandsons like to call my husband Pow Pow. My Pow Pow is not coming home. He's I'm not going to talk to him again, or stuff like that. They have stuff like COPS is an amazing organization that helps you through a lot of stuff, and it's concerns for fallen officers, basically. And this organization is amazing. They put together the memorial in Washington, D.C., which I attended, and they offer you classes and therapy. You know, if you need to just get something off your chest, you know, they have people ready and waiting for you, and to help you through all of that. And all of these people have lost somebody, and they have a great compassion for those people. And it's all over the United States that they help. They help people from all over the United States, and they're just an amazing organization. And to put that together in Washington, D.C., where they're able to put your fallen officer's name on the wall at the memorial, I mean, I was blown away when I went. I mean, I met widows from 20 years ago. Their husband has been gone 20 years, and they had come back for that anniversary, and just everybody welcomed them like they were old friends. You know, it's like, wow, this is so amazing. I'm so glad to see you. And here I am, first time, you know, going. It was like, wow, this is a camaraderie that I can get behind.
I mean, it's great when you get those organizations that do fully support, and they make you feel like a part of the family or the community.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that takes a lot of the pressure off of widows and widowers.
Right. I mean, they also have DPS. It's a Texas DPS Widows. It's a small group that I say a small group, but you know, it's all the Texas widows. They have a small group that they check in on each other, especially at anniversaries. And I met some great people through there. Wonderful ladies, big hearts, and they know what you're going through, so they can help talk you through whatever you're going through. You know, it's okay for you to feel that way, or it's normal, you know. And that's hard because you don't feel like anything's normal anymore. But wonderful group, and of course your DPS family, his coworkers, and I mean, I've never seen so many police officers. And I had a friend tell me, you know, this is the safest I have ever felt anywhere in the United States, because there was so many police officers around. And I was just blown away with how much they gave, you know. And some of them didn't know my husband well, or they knew him in passing, but they were there. And there were, you know, police, highway patrol from all over the United States came to his funeral and offered me their condolences, which, you know, you're traveling like I think the furthest one was New Jersey. New Jersey. And they came from New Jersey just to extend their condolences. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. You know, of course they give you things, and now you have these mementos, you know. And in the military, we call it a love me wall, but, you know, I call it a shrine.
Mm-hmm.
So I have all of these things for my husband, that these wonderful gifts and thoughtful things that they've said on my walls for him, and on my, you know, I've coins, like challenge coins are a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
And he had already a whole bunch of them from being in the military, but I think I filled up 2 now. Coin holders for all of his coins that he's gotten from the military, and from being a DPS officer, from all of these wonderful DPS officers that have come to visit and extend their condolences. And um, just all of these, his command was just amazing, amazing through it all. And I was like, man, I didn't know, that this was such a, I mean, it's a brotherhood, just like the military, but you really feel it when something like this happens. And, being in the service, when somebody passes, you don't always see that. You don't always see the command getting behind you. And to them, the mission has to keep going. Where when you're in when something happens to a DPS officer or a police officer, it's like everything stops for a moment just to acknowledge this happened. We're here for you. Yeah. Our lives may continue to go on and we have another mission to do, but we're here for you.
Yeah. So, I wish the military side was more adapt to that aspect, even just the organizations for the widows and widowers. Mm-hmm. I wish it was more of a close-knit, more of a tight-knit community.
Right.
It's, at least from my experience, not on my end.
Right. And that's the hardest thing, when a service member passes while they're still serving. Because I have friends that, their significant others had passed while they were serving. It's like, okay, what's next? For everybody else, and for you, you're still trying to cope with the loss, and the term adapt and overcome takes on new meaning. Mm-hmm. And I never thought that this would be something that I could advocate for, that you need to not just adapt and overcome, but you need to deal with what you're feeling. And if only, like you said, the military had more groups that were following up at the very least, not just the service members, friends or coworkers or whatever, but their command or even somebody who has taken on that responsibility to be, hey, how you doing? I know it's been a week or it's been 6 months, or the year's coming up, the year mark is coming up. How are you doing? How are you holding up? Tell me about the last 6 months that you've dealt with whatever you're dealing with. And not just throwing here, here's a number to a therapist, or, if you need to talk, go here. It's not just that. It's that the comfort of knowing that the person that passed meant something, not just to you, but to their command, their brethren, anything, even if other widows and widowers got together, from service members that have passed, like they do in the for the fallen officers. If there was just that one entity that gathered them all together to say, hey, you are not alone. You have somebody you can turn to. Yeah, you're struggling. We get it. But there's people here to listen and hold your hand when you need it. I'm thankful that the DPS officers have given me that. Texas is really an amazing state for doing everything that they do for fallen officers. And I've never seen a display like I saw at my husband's funeral. Of course, now that I see other officers passing away, and God bless them all and their families. But I know they weren't ready for that, because I know I wasn't. I mean, you would think it would just be like this small little band of Keystone Cops basically getting together and doing this for you. But it is a evolution that takes on a whole new life. and you have people carrying you through it. And I don't think I don't personally know, but and you would be able to tell me that you didn't have that when your spouse passed. And it's hard because you got to make all of these arrangements, and you're doing it all by yourself. Maybe their family's helping you, or maybe they're arguing with you over it. I definitely felt that. But you don't have anybody to be the voice of reason, basically. Like, hey, we really need you to get on this, to do this, or I need you to think about this. Like for me, it was the service, all making the arrangements for the service. It was 100% what I knew he wanted. And I knew he would have been the kind of person, well, I don't want you crying for me. But we all did, every single one of us did. And, but it was somebody there telling me, hey, I need you to think about this. We want to do this. We want to do a full military honor and a full police honor for your husband, because he did serve for so long, and I thought, well, that's going to make everybody, it's hot, we don't want it to last that long outside. So let's be more, what's the word I'm looking for? Thoughtful to the people that are standing out there in these uniforms. And you and I both know standing in the hot sun in a uniform is not
miserable.
Yes, it is. It's 1,000. And you're standing, you're not sitting. Because I know I've been to many military funerals that dressed in my uniform that it's like, oh God, can we hurry up? I mean, God bless you, and I'm sorry about you being gone, but I mean, dang,
Does
hot.
he really care for standing here in our uniforms?
Right.
I think he's going to understand. We could sit down, damn it.
Right, exactly.
It's not like he cares.
Yes, and in the Navy, your Cracker Jacks are polyester, so they really trap that heat, and you're just like, oh man, I wish I could wear something else. And why did I decide to have that cup of coffee before I came out here? Because these are the things that you're worried about. You're not really worried about the loss as much as you're worried about your own comfort. And so I remember being ushered into these decisions and what would you like to do? This is about what your family wants and how they want to remember him. What do you want this to look like? Or what do you want that to look like? And I just say a small thing, and in a snap, it was done, And I think for a lot of men and women out there who have lost their spouse in the military, it's not that easy. And you're not just being told, hey, it's either A or B, or, which one looks better, 1 or 2. It's, this is all on you. This is, we can't do more than the bare minimum. And that's bring your loved one home to you and be there to salute them when they are laid to rest. You don't have anybody working behind the scenes, helping you get through the process of picking out a casket or finding a plot. I don't. My mom passed away, and she was so organized that she had everything already set in stone of what she wanted. All we had to do was pay for it, basically. I mean, I think even half of it was already paid for by the time we got to making the services. And I thought, wow. So I never knew all of this stuff was happening in the background. Never. And I had my husband, besides my mom and my father, and I was young when my father passed, and my mom was, like I said, an organizer. I was not ready for this in any way, shape, or form, and it was nice to have somebody there holding your hand, saying, "Okay, let's stay on task. You need to do this." Because I don't know about for you, but for me, it was my brain was everywhere. but where it needed to be, and I was completely devastated.
Mm-hmm.
But you need somebody to keep you on track, and you need somebody to say, hey, we're going here next. This is where we're going. This is the plan. They came to my home. His command came to my home and sat down with me. They say, I had 2 liaisons, and they're like, this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to walk you through. And they told me basically how the plan of the day is going to work. This is how we're going to do it today. This is what we're going to do today. I'll be here tomorrow. We'll go through what we're going to do tomorrow. And they took everything one step at a time. And the military could really, really use an entity like that, because there isn't anything.
I mean, we have casualty assistance officers to kind of help with that process. But at least for me, the one I got, I was his first case.
Oh, Lord.
So he had no clue what he was doing at all either. So
and that makes it hard.
Yeah,
Right.
It wasn't a good experience to begin with, let alone everything else.
Right. My one of my DPS liaisons, she was actually my husband's partner, and whenever they went on patrol, she was the one that was always partnered up with him. They were in separate cars, but they were partners. And she was my liaison because she knew me. And they wanted somebody who knew me there, knew our family, knew his family, to be part of it. And that was so helpful because she knew, hey, he wouldn't stand for that, and I'm not going to stand for it because I know he wouldn't stand for it. And then they had another liaison come in and talk to me about she was like the planner of everything. She planned what we're going to go through day by day. And then that liaison was making sure that I understood everything that was being said to me. And sometimes I needed it repeated 3 or 4 times because, you're really not thinking clearly. And my daughters were there. Our 2 daughters, 2 of our daughters were there through all of that process. And I could tell on their faces how overwhelming it was for them, much less for me. And I'm trying to be strong for them because, they just lost their dad. And I told them, what would you think? I wanted their input, and they're like, Mom, whatever you want, we're here. Whatever you need, we're here. And I'm just like, you guys are not helpful at all. Okay. But that's the difference between having small children and having older children. I cannot even imagine what it would have been like if our kids were still young, because you need a babysitter to help so that you can deal with some of the stuff that you have to deal with. On top of your loss, there's so much that you never in a million years would have thought was going to come up. And of course you're not expecting this to happen either, but at the same time you're like, God, now I gotta deal with all this stuff. And what do I do? Where do I start? How far is this gonna go?
Because there's no handbook to it all.
Exactly. And if there was, somebody would be making some serious money.
Yeah, but the problem is that handbook wouldn't apply to every situation.
That's
Each one's so unique, but
right. And you're absolutely right. Like the Trooper Romero who just recently passed. I cried when I saw his picture, his wife and his 2 beautiful boys. And I thought, she has no idea what's fixing to come at her. But I hope she has a great group of people around her like I did. Because I tell you, I couldn't have made it without them. Without that whole DPS office, I couldn't have. There's just no way. And I think about that every day, how lucky I was to have somebody like them who knew my husband, knew what kind of person he was, the good, the bad, the ugly,
Yeah.
and was able to still stand there and help me through it, even though they themselves were hurting for their loss. And I know it bothered a lot of them, having him gone, because they, you get close.
Mhm.
It's like the military, so you're really close, and he was that guy. He was that guy that you could rely on. You can, if you had a question, you could go to him. He had that leadership quality from the military that everybody looked for
Mhm.
and gravitated towards. And so I know they felt their loss. But to be there for me, that was above and beyond, especially how it happened. It would be different if, and I don't diminish anybody's loss in any way, shape, or form, but like if it was a war, you kind of know that comes with the territory. This may or may not happen. My spouse may or may not come home, and you're kind of prepared for it, in a certain way. At least I know I was when my husband went to Iraq, and they were still having a bunch of conflict, and I knew there was a possibility, and in my mind I had steeled myself and said, "Hey, this might happen." And I never took any second with him for granted when it came to that. Whenever I talked to him on the phone or on email, or even when I sent him packages, and that man got a lot of packages. Let me just tell you. But I made it a family affair where everybody put something in there for him. We picked a theme for it and sent it all off to him. And so you kind of are prepared, but when something like this happens to a police officer, whether it's a shooting or a car accident or just a terrible situation that just went awry, you're not prepared for that. Their job is dangerous or can be dangerous, but you don't put yourself through the stuff that you would have if they were going to war, because you think, oh, he'll be home. He does some crazy stuff, but I know he'll be here tomorrow. Or, we have this going on tomorrow. He can't miss it. He's not going to miss it. He'll do everything he can to not miss it. Or, you don't steady yourself for that kind of loss. And I don't know if it is like that for most of the spouses of police officers. I know it was like that for me. I took for granted that he was going to be home every night or home every morning. And I would see his face when I woke up, or I would get a phone call from him telling me he's awake. If he had the night shift, I'm awake, and do you need me to do anything before I go to work? Or, because that's what we were. That's what we did. And I would tell him, hey, after work, I got to go do this. Do you need anything? And he's like, no. Well, I want you home, you kind of thing, all the time. And I say, I want to see your face. Or, we never not said, I love you. Every day, every morning, every night, I love you. Sometimes throughout the day, I'm thinking of you and I love you. But you don't think that's going to be the last time, because it's been like that for years, And I think for widows and widowers now that of police officers, that's the biggest hurt, or the biggest what's what I'm looking for? The most devastating part of losing someone you love to whatever it is, whatever incident that happens that takes them away from you, is that you're kind of lived on that that line of, man, it could happen or it can't happen. It's not going to happen to him because he's this person. He's always cautious. He's always this person, or she's always that person. She knows she has a wife, a husband, and kids to come home to. She's going to come home fine. Or the same thing. You don't steel yourself that this could happen. And whereas in the military, like every time he went to Afghanistan or Iraq, I would cry myself to sleep the first week that he was gone, until he was able to call me that first time. And then every day held my breath, waiting for something. It was like you were constantly living in that state of fear that he's not going to make it home, or she's not going to make it home. But you didn't do that when he was an officer, when they were an officer. And it's I know it's a different animal, but at the same time it's loss. And either way, you're going to need somebody to guide you through it. So getting back to that, wishing that there was better entities out there to help our service members that are losing their lives, helping their families get through the loss. And our police officers, man, Texas, you set the standard for sure.
Texas is really good to not only the officers, but the veterans and stuff.
Yes,
so.
yes. I go to the VA, like, I don't know if you do, but I go to the VA, being a veteran myself. And there's a lot of stuff so much red tape when it comes to a veteran passing. And it's like, what do I need to do to make things go faster? Because I got so much other stuff on my plate. This is like the last thing I want to deal with right now. But Wounded Warriors, and they really stuck their necks out there and tried to help. Of course, the answers that I wanted weren't exactly the answers that I needed, but it was just one of those things that you just waited to see. Like every military service, you got to hurry up and wait.
Yep.
And unfortunately, I'm sure Wounded Warriors were the same way, that they were like, man, we're just hurrying. We got all of this done. Why aren't you telling us something yet? They're probably just as frustrated as I was, but they were helpful in trying to get some of that resolved. And of course, you don't ever get everything resolved, and you're not ever going to get anything resolved the first year. Just prepare for that.
Yeah.
But like I said, there's some great entities out there. If they were just more prominent, it would be great to have these people out there more, have their face out there more, especially for people that are hurting so badly that they don't even know where to look for help. Yeah. I was just fortunate enough that I had a great group that was like, hey, not like tossing me these, here's this business card, call this person, this, not that way, but like, hey, I know you're struggling, because I'm struggling. Call this, this is who I called. Maybe you should try to call the same person, or see if you can get help through this, but yeah, it's been a whirlwind of emotion, and it's a constant roller coaster. I know you know.
And it's going to be a whirlwind of emotion and everything from September forward.
Right.
And I guarantee you that September is going to be one of the hardest, at least for you, I know.
Right.
So it doesn't go away. It never heals. It's always gonna friggin' hurt.
Right.
I can't really give much advice on it. 'Cause even today, 10, 15 years later, on those anniversary dates, it's miserable and it hurts, and it's always going to hurt. I've kind of realized that.
Right.
But I think it's just we start to learn how to live with it. We start to learn how to function daily with it rather than letting it be our detriment.
Right.
And it's never going to be an easy thing. It's just, like you said, having that support network in place, having those people that will check on you, and having those aspects that you can look forward to rather, looking at the good aspects and the good memories rather than the current situation.
Right. Yeah, that's for me right now. The hardest thing is, the not just the loss, but that it's already been 9 months, and it still feels like it's yesterday, still fresh, and there's always going to be somebody who tries to take that away from you. Basically, you didn't deserve them, or you were a terrible person to them, and what have you. And I think you do your own damage more than anybody could ever have done to you. Your regrets, the things that you didn't say that you wish you could have said before they passed, and now you're telling a picture or a mound on the ground. All those things that you wish you had said. And there's going to be people out there that are just evil and want to drive the stake harder into your heart. But my advice to people that are doing that, to people that are already grieving, stop. Because you can't do any more damage than what they're already doing to themselves. And it's not worth it.
Yeah.
And for the people that are living with that regret or what have you, you got to forgive yourself. And that's hard. It's hard to forgive yourself for anything that you may have done wrong or you regret in any way, shape, or form. But get there. Find a way to get there, because forgiveness is healing. That's all. I mean, that's the only two advices I could give you with that stuff, with that kind of thing. There's always going to be evil in the world, unfortunately. But how you deal with it is how you're going to get through it.
The world just needs a little bit more compassion and empathy, and people to be able to put themselves in each other's shoes. So.
Right.
Well, we're at the 3-hour mark.
Ooh,
I know. So you want to take a break, or you want to? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, unless you have any questions.
Not off the top of my head.
Okay.
So let's say 5 minutes. What else do you have left? What do you want to cover? Questions, complaints, concerns, bitches, gripes, moans, groans?
Nothing that I can. I mean, I think I put everything out there that I needed to put out there. You never know who's having a bad day, whether it's PTSD or a loss or anything. My biggest fear is waiting for another shoe to drop. Right now, both my older children were in car accidents recently, and thankfully they're both on the mend. But I wouldn't wish this kind of loss on anybody. Any kind of loss, really. Loss of a loved one is so hard to deal with in any aspect. But it's just one of those things that you can't even imagine.
It's truly hard to put into words.
Yes. Devastation just doesn't seem to cover it sometimes.
It almost seems like an overuse of the word or over dramatization of the word, but it doesn't even cover it. I mean, the daily pain, and it's not even just daily, hourly, minute, secondly, yearly, name it. And it's just from the day you get the news to basically the day you die, it's just there's always going to be a pain.
Right.
So.
And it's unfortunate. But, like I said, reach out. find somebody that can, if they're not in the same boat, at least close to it. I have like I said, I have a wonderful support system with my husband's command. His brothers in the Army, they have been wonderful. My service members back home that I went to school with, they have been amazing. I reached out to a friend of mine who also lost her husband when all of this happened, and we talked for about an hour, and it was like I knew what to expect, what was coming. I didn't realize the intensity of it, but I knew it was coming, and it's never something you can fully be prepared for. But always reach out for help. Even the like PTSD, Mrs. PTSD month, I think.
Yeah.
It's another thing that it's a silent killer that people don't realize how much it has affected the person who has it. And sometimes I always check on my shipmates and people that I know that are in the military. It's like, how you doing? Mm-hmm. It's June. I try not to wait, a whole year, but I check on them every once in a while. But I know that my husband, his old soldiers used to call him just randomly, just to say, hey, or I miss you, man. We had some good times, or what have you. But it helps. I know it helped him. I don't know if it helps the people that I reach out to, but it helps me.
It probably does.
That I reached out to them. So it's just don't let it go too long.
Talk to someone, realize you're not alone. Maybe they can't relate to every single aspect, but as long as you find the right person, they can relate to a lot to it. And that's what a lot of people just need, is someone to bounce off of, vent to, and everything, and to understand.
Right. That's my story.
It was a very interesting story. I'll give you that one. I do. Again, this is the second one in a row. I was not expecting 3 hours, and it doesn't seem like 3 hours. But as I tell everyone, if you ever want to come back on, if you ever want to give us an update, if you know someone that wants to come on again, you're always more than welcome on here. Awesome. So it was always it was a pleasure having you on here. It was a very fun conversation for what the parts it could be, but it was a very solemn and eye-opening story.
Thank you.
So thank you for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, of course. All right.
Nobody teaches you how ordinary moments become the ones you carry forever. Some promises outlive goodbye. They don't fade away with the passing of time. Love keeps speaking long after the last embrace. Some promises time can't erase. When your voice grows quiet, your heart still remains. Some promises outlive goodbye.